Salutations, Jesus of Doom. Welcome to Podcast of Storm, where social awkward outcasts, crazy weirdos, and all around nerds convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Multimer.
Hello and good evening, everyone. We now return to your regularly scheduled podcasting. Sans holiday theming for another month.
And I'm your host last time on Wannabe, the brains for pop culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I am doing okay, although my phone is refusing to hold a goddamn charge, so if I randomly cut out, that is what has happened. Just warning everyone ahead of time.
Right. Okay, so it's going to be an interesting one because we're mostly going to be covering trailers and stuff. We have articles saved up, and we'll do those next week. We just believed it was more prevalent to cover the trailers first.
That, and it's an easier time of getting back in the saddle than would be trudging through the month's worth of stupid we missed while we were Halloweening.
Yeah, that's also fair. So the first one is one I particularly am apathetic towards. I believe I said that last time when we covered the first thing.
I have no intentions to see it, but it is a major movie, and we might both have to see it just to review it for the sake of it is a major movie. So who knows?
Right. This is Avatar: The Way of Water official trailer. I believe it was the teaser trailer we first saw, right?
I believe so. Yes,
Right.
this is the full trailer.
Right. Yeah. I don't. Okay. So I guess just first thing. Again, I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not the biggest fan of Avatar. I appreciate it on a technical level, which I think is Dom's similar view of it, right?
Uh-huh. Basically, what I'm hoping for is that this movie makes just enough money to justify a sequel, so that James Cameron will basically be a VFX workhorse for the near future. But I don't want it to make as much money as the first one did, because I want James Cameron to learn a goddamn lesson. And I also wouldn't mind it if Black Panther 2 makes more money than Avatar 2, because that would force James Cameron to self-examine and stop bitching about the superhero genre like a bitch.
Yeah, we'll cover that next, which is funny because he did try to make a superhero movie in the 90s.
He's running his goddamn mouth about the superhero genre again, and we'll get into it next week.
Right, yeah, we get stuff for that next week, so yeah. Shall we banana?
We shall banana. Although I suppose in this case it would be giant blue banana.
Nah.
Anyway, banana.
Okay, so I guess the first thing I should say, like, as a point of not criticism but praise, I guess, just to be fair and unbiased here. I appreciate the tone it is setting within the first 20 seconds, because that is usually a problem with like certain other trailers.
Yeah, they're not good at setting the scene very well.
But this, I would say it does it rather well. Just this kind of sense of awe and beauty and stuff with like the visuals and the music.
Hmm.
Um, Other than that, I don't really have anything because it's only the first 20 seconds, so there's not really much to say.
Yeah. One thing I will say, and this is probably going to be a recurring issue I have throughout the entire trailer, it's been 10 years. And the number one selling point that Avatar has always had is how much of a technical tour de force it is and how much it pushes the boundaries of what visual effects can do. Um, and given that it's been more than 10 years since the last one, not only does it not look like the effects have moved forward at all majorly in the last 10 years, but it also almost looks like the Avatar of 10 or 12 years ago actually kind of looks better. Now, granted, this is a trailer and so on and so forth, but the job of a trailer is to put their best foot forward. And especially given how much criticism Avatar has gotten, in my opinion, rightly so, in the last 10 years, that the technical aspects were the only good things about it, you would think that James Cameron would want to put his best foot forward as possible to recapture whatever spell it was he cast on everyone with the last one. But that would require James Cameron being sensitive and self-aware in relation to the criticism. And therein lies the possible problem. Maybe he doesn't realize that he needs to work harder to sell everyone this time because he doesn't actually internalize any of the criticism Avatar has gotten over the last 10 to 12 years. And that's going to be funny for me because that means that this movie might make about half of what the first one did. Now, granted, that would still be a lot and it would still justify a sequel, but it's going to be a disappointment in relation to James Cameron's ego. And that, frankly, would be a sweet spot for me because good enough to justify several sequels, but not good enough to stroke James Cameron's ego is kind of the sweet spot that I'm aiming for here. Anyway, banana.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah.
Dad, I know you think I'm crazy. That's why those big rooms. But I feel her.
I got nothing to say really.
Again, it literally looks like the same movie over again, which I guess would be a good thing if you were trying to recapture what the old movie did, but at the same time, one of the things the old movie did was move things forward, and it really feels like this movie is almost acting like the last 10 years don't exist. And that strikes me as not the right bet you need to make there, James. Anyway, banana.
Okay. No.
I hear her heartbeat. She's so close. So what does her heartbeat sound like?
Yeah, it looks okay, I guess.
Yeah, it literally looks like the same movie, which, again, you had 10 years and whatever technical advancements have occurred in the last 10 years to play with, James. Why is this literal? And again, it wouldn't even bother me necessarily, except that between the two of them, I think the first one looks better, at least compared to the trailer shots we have. Now, granted, again, maybe the good parts of the movie aren't in the trailer, but given the purpose of a trailer is to sell you on the movie, keeping the best parts of the movie out of the trailer, especially on a movie that took 10 years to make and a movie that has since grown quite the backlash in the intervening time, it almost feels like this movie was kind of made on autopilot, which, given that it took 10 years to make, is a little bit silly, because James Cameron has been hyping this thing up since the last one came out, and yet it doesn't feel like any advancements have been made story-wise or technical-wise in the intervening time, which really doesn't bode well for James Cameron, which might amuse the fuck out of me, but in theory, you're supposed to be making this movie for the people who liked the first one. So, meh. Banana.
Alright, yeah, 1 sec. No.
Mighty.
No, it's, again, I don't.
Okay, I'm gonna sound like a complete and utter dick for saying this, but as far as water-based movies go, I think Aquaman was more visually interesting than this. And again, maybe I'm biased because I didn't particularly like Avatar, and I think the only thing it had going for it was the technical achievements. But I remember when the trailer for Aquaman came out, and it was a lot more visually engaging and visually interesting than this. And Brainstormer can tell me I'm full of shit if he thinks I'm full of shit, but
No, I agree. Like, it's just like, okay. So I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm kind of tuning out of this just because, like, there doesn't really feel like there's a lot. It's more style over substance, you know.
yeah, it's not.
Which I get was kind of the whole thing with this series, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But even here, it, at least in the first one, it felt like there was somewhat of an attempt to have some substance.
Like people were actually trying to make something unique and interesting. And again, this just feels like James Cameron acting as though there haven't been 10 years of technical achievements in the field of CGI since the first one came out. And also, this movie kind of feels like it should have come out maybe like 3 or 4 years after the first one came out. If that had happened, maybe this wouldn't have hit so hollow. But it's been 10 years, and I think the movie is trying to play it as though that no time, hardly any time has passed at all, which is bullshit.
Okay.
Anyway, banana.
1 sec.
We cannot let you bring your war here.
Outcast. That's all they see.
I see you.
Yeah, I'm also gonna point out that this is the second trailer, and we have next to no idea what the actual story is.
Well, okay, no. First was a teaser trailer, which did its job. This is an official trailer. I will agree. This one, I don't get what.
Like, I get the vague idea that the war has continued, and some of the people who are engaged in the war put themselves in Avatar bodies, and so now there's a schism with the Na'vi as to which side they're on in the war. That's as far as I've gotten in terms of what this trailer is telling me. And for all of the problems of the first Avatar, and there were many, one thing I will give the first Avatar is it had a really, really kick-ass trailer that I still remember all these years later. The Stephen Lang character, the general, going a Marine in an Avatar body, and then the image of Jake Sully being, in a wheelchair and then getting his legs back by way of the Avatar body. That was at least an impressive trailer. I've watched 2 trailers for The Way of Water now, and I just got nothing. And again, I'm biased against this franchise. I don't like this franchise. I think it's the classic case of selling a movie based on its technical achievements rather than anything relating to its story, its characters, or its world building. But even then, it's a problem that it's been 10 years, that CGI has massively improved over the course of those 10 years, that there really doesn't appear to be there's nothing new or engaging about this aesthetic anymore. And there are movies like Aquaman, like Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, like The Cure for Wellness, like probably Black Panther 2 in relation to the people of Mu, that seem to be using underwater or otherworldly imagery with CG better than this movie. And that's a shame, because it's been 10 years, and not only has it been 10 years, but in those 10 years, a lot of people came to the conclusion of, I don't know what we were all smoking back in 2009, but Avatar really isn't all that good of a movie. So it's your job, James, to try and sell those of us that are Avatar skeptical on giving you another try 10 years later. And this isn't selling me. Banana.
Yeah, I was trying to think if I had anything to say, but now I'm good. Banana.
The way of water connects all things. Before your birth and after your death.
This is our home!
I need you with me. I need you to be strong.
Yeah, even like tribal aspect of the Na'vi, the like quasi Native American, quasi African aspect of the Na'vi's culture was done better in movies like Black Panther. So you've got a water-based movie, not as good as Aquaman or Black Panther 2. You've got kind of an African/tribal movie that's not as good as either Black Panther. You've got a VFX-heavy movie that's not as visually interesting as Aquaman or Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets or Alita Battle Angel. And you've got a movie that it took 10 years to make that a lot of people don't seem to like the first one all that much anymore. So it's not looking good for me, Doc, is all I'm saying. Like, those variables are not good variables to have if you're betting the entire farm on an entire like decades of these, because he wants to make 5 of these, including the first one, which means 3 more after this. I'm not impressed. Moving on.
Right.
Banana.
Yes, I.
Stormheart.
Nothing.
Yep. I feel nothing, absolutely nothing, other than mild contempt, because James Cameron is an egotistical bastard who dumps all over every genre movie that isn't one of his. and I'm going to enjoy watching this bite him in the ass if it does. Anyway, next.
Yeah, so I was just
Setting up the next one.
yep. Okay. Alright, this is Marvel Studios special presentation, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. This trailer.
Mm-hmm. And maybe we should have saved this for December, but it did come out last month, so for some reason we now have to act like Thanksgiving isn't a thing and move all the way from Halloween to Christmas in the blink of a frickin' eye.
Yeah, I don't get that at all, but okay.
It's like, yeah, like, guys, there's a whole month in between Halloween and Christmas. Let that month exist, please. Especially because there's a Thanksgiving right in the middle there.
Hello, Giant Turtle. You didn't miss much. Honestly, we didn't have really much to say on the first thing. We covered the Avatar Way of Water thing. Again, not really much to say. So
Yeah, other than the contempt for James Cameron being an egotistical fuck who doesn't seem to have realized that he needs to impress people the second time around.
Well, we'll talk more about that next week. Thanksgiving didn't sell as much products. I mean, to be fair, have you ever? I'm sure everyone here who is an American has done a Thanksgiving dinner, and that is, I mean, I'm
yeah,
sure
billions of dollars of food every year. I kind of refute the idea that Thanksgiving is unimportant financially.
I think the worst part about Thanksgiving for me is I never get to eat the fucking deviled eggs. I only get like maybe 5 at most.
I don't really like deviled eggs
fuck
one way
yourself.
or the other, so
Go fuck yourself.
I mean, I feel bad for you because if they're your favorite thing, then I can't fault you for it. But yeah, they're not. My big thing when it comes to Thanksgiving is the desserts. Like I could literally eat an entire tub's worth of pistachio fluff and fruit salad and of course apple pie because I'm not a savage.
So it's a hillbilly. But hello, Chrono. Does too, diabetes medication, grocery store sales. Not to mention armadillo meat sales.
Yeah, again, it's literally a gorge yourself on expensive food holiday. So I refute the idea that Thanksgiving doesn't sell anything.
I don't know if I've ever told this story, but since we're on Thanksgiving, there was one year, and I've never let my uncle live this down, but one time, making Thanksgiving dinner, right? Because he's the cook.
Yeah.
Well, he was making, he was stirring up mashed potatoes, like making homemade mashed potatoes.
Like you do. Yeah.
And using the whiskey machine, right?
Yeah. I imagine you guys have a stand mixer if he's a chef or a cook.
I mean, it's an old one, but what had happened is that he was doing it in the sink, like having the pan in the sink there, so like no mess would really happen if there was a possibility of that happening. And the motion, the motion of it kind of started to shake things, and the dish soap that we had there by the sink fell in. And the thing was that it was open. Like we don't really close it. We keep it open so we have easy access to it to wash stuff. And basically, we didn't have mashed potatoes that year.
So your uncle, who's a chef, failed at mashed potatoes.
It was 1 year, years ago, and now we make sure to close that thing all the time.
Right, but I'm just saying I understand why you wouldn't let him live that down, because
Oh no, yeah.
if that was my household, I would be mocking him about it every year on the year. Speaking of embarrassing Thanksgiving stories, every year on Thanksgiving, everyone in my household has mimosas, and they're like Thanksgiving themed mimosas with like obviously champagne and grape juice, but also apple cider and I think cranberries and pomegranates. But anyway, so we every year we have mimosas while we watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on Thanksgiving, and my brother wanted to open up the champagne, so we let him open up the champagne. He opens up the champagne, not realizing the cork is going to come flying out. And when the cork does inevitably come flying out of the champagne, like it does, it starts spewing everywhere. And his response is, "I thought they just did that on TV to make it seem more dramatic. I didn't think it actually did that." And I swear to God, every year when we make mimosas on Thanksgiving, one of us points that out to him because it's so fucking hilarious. He got me back though a couple years after that, because Thanksgiving is one of the few times a year that I let myself have a drink, and I had my brother make the drink uh, 1 year on Thanksgiving because I was in the middle of trying to find the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on TV, and so he comes back, and I tell him specifically, fill the entire glass up with ice and then pour the booze over the ice and then fill the rest of the glass up with water. So these were very simple instructions that a monkey could probably learn how um to cooperate. He comes back with an almost entirely full bottle of booze with ice floating over the top of it. And I'm just like, no, I told you specifically what to do. Go and make it again. And he comes back with an even stronger kind of booze, but he waters it down. But he waters it down too freaking much, to the point where it's only like one shot's worth of booze with an entire like bottle's worth, with an entire cup's worth of water. So I make him do it again. And this is repeated like 5 or 6 different times until he eventually comes back with a bottle with the sufficient amount of booze, but that's sufficiently watered down to the point where normally I drink it and it takes me about 2 hours because I don't really like the taste of booze, and then I have a glass of water and everything is fine. I drank that in like 20 minutes, and then for the entire rest of Thanksgiving I was drowsy. And I remember specifically because I found Shawshank Redemption on TV, and I was watching Shawshank Redemption, and I was like blitzing in and out of consciousness while trying to watch the Shawshank Redemption on Thanksgiving. I never forgave him for that, nor did I ever let him mix my drinks ever again. Anyway, moving on.
Right, so yeah, Marvel Studios special presentation, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Banana?
Banana.
I just saw on the calendar that right now on Earth it's almost Christmas time.
We don't have time for trivialities like Christmas.
But Peter's so sad about Gamora being gone.
Okay, this is already giving me the warm fuzzies, so mission accomplished, guys.
I'm gonna hold off for a minute before I say anything.
Okay, banana.
Banana.
Maybe go to Earth for a really wonderful Christmas gift. It would make him happy. Something special he will never forget.
What about someone special?
I just love these characters, and the idea of them, like the idea of Mantis and Drax going to Earth to get Peter a Christmas gift because he's grieving the loss of Gamora. It's just, God damn you, James Gunn, and your ability to make even my stony heart feel things.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think it's the trailer a bit for me. It's just it feels a bit off in some way. I can't exactly pin it down. I'm just not feeling it.
Part of it is they released it too goddamn early. What they should have done is they should have released it like the day after Thanksgiving, and then.
I mean, they did the same thing with Werewolf by Night, so like I'm not too surprised.
Yeah, but they released that in September, and there's not really much going on in September other than preparing for Halloween, so that didn't bother me as much. But the fact that they're releasing the trailer for a holiday special a month and a half before because this was released not even last week, it was the week before last, so before Halloween was even over, they were already prepping for Christmas, and I'm like, I appreciate the sincerity of what you're doing, but wait a month, yeah.
I think it's just edited weird to me. I don't know. It feels a bit like the trailer doesn't. The jokes aren't landing for me because I think I'm missing some context.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, trailer's got a trailer. They can't put all the best things in the trailer, otherwise no reason to watch the thing.
Yeah, it's always never. It's a weird balance you gotta have to make a trailer.
I wonder how long this is gonna be. Are they gonna do like they did with Werewolf by Night and make it about an hour, or are they gonna make it basically a short movie? Honestly, I'd lean into it a little bit more and make it a whole movie, but they might go like they did with Werewolf. This is the problem. Shit like WandaVision and She-Hulk get 9 episodes, but Werewolf by Night and the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special gets 50 minutes. That bothers me. That in a sane world, that would be the other way around.
In the same way, would actually have good shit consistently.
Well, yes, but I mean, baby steps. Moving on, no, banana.
No.
We're looking for the legendary Kevin Bacon.
We're looking for the legendary Kevin Bacon.
I just said that, Drax.
But your voice is small and mousy. I think maybe he didn't hear you. Ah! You're coming with us. That's a Christmas present.
Okay, this is perfect for Star-Lord's Christmas,
Okay,
and I hope they succeed.
I'll track my previous thing. I think the issue is that it's just kind of a slow start.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm all for it. Obviously, like I will say it's probably the only good franchise left in the MCU at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, Doctor Strange is at least in an upward trajectory, which, had you told me a year ago it would be in an upward trajectory, I wouldn't have believed you. But yeah, no, Doctor Strange is in an upward trajectory at least. So it assuming Doctor Strange 3 does well, it will wind up with the best in its trilogy being the third one, which is the correct is the correct progression. They're supposed to get better as they go. So I'm not completely black-pilled, but then again, you also have Sam Wilson, Captain America now for some fucking reason.
I mean,
And
I'm fine with that. I think they just need to handle it better because it just really didn't feel.
yeah, the problem is they're gonna tie in elements of Falcon and Winter Soldier to the movie, and also they're gonna tie in aspects of She-Hulk to Captain America: New World Order, because the whole premise is gonna be the leader trying to create an army of Hulks, and Sam and Bucky are gonna have to try and stop it. Which in theory should be a good idea, but given Falcon and Winter Soldier and She-Hulk, not.
Okay, it's Dragon Turtle. Wait, Werewolf by Night, is that the one with that one? Check your grammar on that, man. Is that the one with the Howling Commandos episode, who is a werewolf / vampire? Either way, I think it's going to be good. That's the important thing.
Werewolf by Night's already out, Dragon Turtle. They released that as a Halloween special. And it's unironically the best thing in Phase 4.
Maybe,
or at least arguably between that and Multiverse of Madness.
Maybe people seem to not like Multiverse of Madness, also says Dragon Turtle.
I mean, yeah, but that's...
It's not a perfect film, but it's far better than the first one, actually.
Yeah, the problem with why a lot of people, I think, don't like Multiverse of Madness is they, for some reason, when they heard the title Multiverse of Madness, they zeroed in on the multiverse part. And they completely forgot the of Madness and the Doctor Strange part. Whereas me and Sam Raimi both were apparently on the same page that the important part of Multiverse of Madness is not the multiverse part, it's the of Madness part and the Doctor Strange part, i.e., it's not a multiverse movie, it's a Lovecraftian horror comedy with multiversal elements. I think that's most of the reason why people didn't like Multiverse of Madness. That, and there were major script issues courtesy of Michael Waldron.
Right.
But an imperfect but enjoyable movie is much better than a movie that basically does the Cliff Notes version of an origin story like the first Doctor Strange did.
Oh God!
And I mean, we already did a 4.5-hour rebuttal to someone who was criticizing Multiverse of Madness for incredibly stupid reasons.
Right.
Apologies to Gary, but your reasoning was dumb. Anyway, Banana.
No.
I'm Groot.
I'm sorry. It's going to be streaming on November 25th.
Again, why you know in December is the question.
That's weird. That's weird.
Okay, when is Thanksgiving this year? They might actually be doing the smart thing and releasing it after Thanksgiving, maybe.
Let me check. God, for calendars. 24th.
Okay, so it's literally on Black Friday that they're releasing it. That's the day after Thanksgiving. That is acceptable Christmas season to release.
Also, apparently Native American Heritage Day.
Yes, because November is Native American Heritage Month, which this one doesn't bother me quite so much because that means it coincides with Native American Heritage Month coincides with Thanksgiving, which makes sense.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, no, the Native Americans get November. The black people, I believe, get February. Although, isn't February also Women's Month? No, March is Women's Month. Never mind. I was momentarily confused. But actually, I don't resent Native American Heritage Month nearly as much as I resent all the other identitarian months, because that means that Native American Heritage Month coincides with Thanksgiving, which makes sense as for a given value of sense or at least as far as these things are capable of making sense. Anyway, yeah, I'm fine with them releasing it on Black Friday because that's Black Friday is the official start of the Christmas season, at least in my head. That being said, I do kind of wish they had stalled on it just a little bit and had it released, I don't know, on like December 1st. Kind of like they did with Hocus Pocus 2 coming out on October 1st, so it had the whole month to play. That would have been my move. But honestly, it looks like a fun time. I love the Guardians. James Gunn has well and truly proven himself. I mean, he's in charge of all of DC now, so clearly we're not the only people who recognize James Gunn's talent.
Right. Giant Turtle, can you call something a Lovecraftian horror comedy without a technical joke?
I mean, the movie did have a scene where Strange removed the eye of a Lovecraftian horror with a
Pole.
telephone pole. So
No, it wasn't a telephone pole. It was a lamp.
A lamppost.
Lamppost. Thank you. I think from the last word.
But nevertheless, I mean, it also wasn't shy about body horror or zombie horror. So I will allow it. I mean,
Speaking of Marvel, Marvel Studios Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania official trailer. So
I mean, go ahead.
I technically haven't watched the Ant-Man and the Wasp. Technically, I watched like the second half with my uncle, but I just meant that as a joke, like legitimately, just like a technical joke. You know, Lovecraftian horror comedy.
I've seen both of the Ant-Man movies. The Ant-Man movies are kind of the also-rans of the MCU, which in a way is good because it means they have room to improve each time. And I think based on the trailer, because I already have seen this, it has the potential to be the best of the three. Granted, the bar is kind of low because the Ant-Man franchise is, again, the also-ran of the MCU, so you don't have to work very hard to be the best of the Ant-Man movies, but this still looks like the best of the Ant-Man movies. Anyway, Banana.
Right.
Or maybe Bananta?
No.
Sorry. I have to. It was right there.
Anyway. I don't know.
Banana.
I used to ask myself a lot of questions. Scott, you're an ex-con. How are you an Avenger? That doesn't make sense. But everywhere I go, people tell me the same thing.
Thank you, Spider-Man!
People still need help, Dad. That's why we made this.
Okay, I kind of like the idea of like letting Ant-Man borrow Guardians flavor just a little bit, because the biggest problem with the Ant-Man movies is they don't really have much flavor in the way of like unique to them. Like that again, they're kind of the basic bitch also rans of the MCU. So giving them more flavor along the lines of like Guardians or the latter two Thor movies makes kind of sense.
No, Giant Turtle. I don't really have anything to say for 20 seconds, really. It's not really gripping me, to be honest, but yeah, I'm just going to hold off until I have something to really say. So
I like the song choice. The song choice is pretty good.
I'm going to refrain from saying anything. Again, I don't really have anything to say. So.
Oh, okay.
Although, I guess just always the nitpick with me is I feel like it's a bit dull in terms of the colors.
Yeah, but the good news is, and I hope to God this is true. It seems like this movie is taking my advice, which is to get the characters off of Earth as soon as possible and keep them off of Earth. And that might counterbalance the color issue quite a bit.
Anyway, well,
Banana.
This. It's like a satellite for deep space, but quanta.
Wait a minute. You're sending a signal down to the quantum realm. Turn it off. Now!
I don't really have anything to say.
Remember, kids, don't send signals into other dimensions. Because to paraphrase one of my favorite lines from the show The Magicians, you can't unring a bell.
Hello, Corrupt.
Sarah's gone. Yes, Sarah was gone last time. I had some real life stuff to deal with. Nothing personal. It's just like my mom asked me to go somewhere with her, and it took forever. And I didn't
Okay.
get back until like 12. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Well, you missed the Avatar 2 trailer, which mostly took the form of us dumping on James Cameron for being an egotistical fuck. And you missed the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special trailer. Now we're reacting. Now we're reacting to the Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania trailer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some thoughts about the James Cameron thing.
We'll cover more of that next week.
All right, but feel free to give your reaction though, since you weren't here to do it earlier.
About the James Cameron thing.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, he has a point, and on the other, it's just kind of old man screaming at clouds. Like it's because like the Marvel movies are very formulaic, and they have like a sort of formula: action comedy,
Mm-hmm.
and the characters kind of have interchangeable are kind of interchangeable when it comes to the humor. Like everyone is snarky, everyone makes wisecracks and shit, and it does come off as a little juvenile in how it's presented.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but I mean that wasn't really the topic of conversation today. We were just reacting to the blandness that was.
I thought you were talking about. I should give my reaction to the James Cameron thing.
No, we were specifically reacting to the Avatar 2: The Way of Water trailer and talking about how it didn't really seem like for all of the first Avatar's technical prowess, it didn't really seem like the 10 years that James Cameron has been working on this had improved the technical aspect at all. And it also doesn't seem like he internalized any of the criticism of the first movie at all.
All right. Well, I hadn't seen that, and since I was talking about the James Cameron thing, and you said I could go ahead, I assume that's what you meant.
Oh, yeah, no, save that for next week, because we're actually going to address an article that talks about the whole James Cameron shitting on the superhero genre for the 5th time, I think now.
I thought it was just the MCU movies. I didn't know it was the
No, he's shitting on the entire superhero genre because reasons.
That's fucking retarded. Wait, can I say that on your stream?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, you may. Anyway, then Anna.
As long as you're not like too vulgar, I don't really care.
All right.
I mean, I frequently use the word cunt, so I think we're fully. I think the swearing ship has sailed off a fucking cliff into the Davy Jones locker.
I know some people are like really uptight about like you being able to say certain types of words because they're because they aren't PC, so I wasn't sure if I was
No.
able to do that.
Yeah, as long as you're not like super weird, which I realize who I'm talking to.
It's yeah.
Alright,
You're basically hog tying the man, Brainstormer.
alright. You have the same morbid sense of humor that I do, Brainstormer.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back onto the Ant-Man trailer.
Yeah.
Banana.
No.
Oh wait, Kang is in this, isn't he?
Yes, this is the movie
He's
that
very
they're
purple.
going to establish Kane in.
I'll say it looks interesting, I guess, visually.
I mean, it's about on par with the Multiverse of Madness in terms of like visuals. So I mean, I guess it's like passable, you know.
Yeah, the one benefit I will give this movie is from what I hear, and granted, take that with a grain of salt, because I'm going off of internet rumors and stuff, although from what I would consider fairly reliable sources. Nevertheless, from what I hear, they're going to spend like 80% of the movie in the actual quantum realm. So it's not going to be visually interesting for 2 seconds, then we're back on Earth again. Visually interesting for 2 seconds, then we're back on Earth again. Because I really hate that shit. Especially when it comes to weirder characters like Doctor Strange, or the Guardians of the Galaxy, or I guess now Ant-Man. I want movies to take place in the weird spaces. I don't want the weird spaces to be like screensavers in between Earth space, Earth space, Earth space. I want characters to get off of normal looking Earth and stay off of normal freaking Earth for the majority of the movie.
There's a comic like called Vanish that does that. Like, there's one page where they're in this like majestic looking, like cyber futuristic magic fantasy land, and then the rest of it takes place in an alley on Earth.
It's just like, why? Like, you have a literal universe to play in. Why now? The soulless, cynical, practical, movie making part of my brain is like, well, because CG is
It's
expensive
cheaper.
and Earth shots are cheap, but it's still like,
Pretty much, yeah, it's just cheap.
but if you're going to tell a story about, say, an interdimensional sorcerer who defends the universe from interdimensional threats, i.e. Doctor Strange, or someone who has the capability to shrink down into the quantum realms of reality, or a group of people who spend most of their time in space, then tell that story. Don't wuss out and make half of the movie take place on Earth and half of the movie basically be screensavers.
It's kind of like it's kind of like everything else, you know. Like you said, the cynic in you says, it's just cheaper to do it that way, to make it look, to give you pretty scenery for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then it's like, well, we're back on Earth where it's like really cheap. Look,
Yeah,
there's
but
an alley.
that's my problem though, is like, if you're going to commit to telling this kind of story, then you have to think ahead and figure out how to tell that kind of story. You can't try to split the difference and have it both ways, because it just looks cheap and it makes it less interesting. For all of the faults of the Avatar movies, and there are plenty, at the very least, James Cameron has 90% of the movie take place on Pandora, which is a visually interesting, in theory, place to be.
I like in theory.
Well, okay, but that's the thing. For all of the hard selling that the technical aspect of Avatar is doing, I never found Pandora to be that engaging on its own. Like, especially not when compared to movies like Alita Battle Angel, or Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, which is a movie not many people have seen.
Alita looked fucking sick as fuck. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really fucking cool.
What did you say, Brainstormer?
Sorry, I'm eating a burger right now.
But yeah, like Alita looked sick as fuck. Oh my god, that was like a visually amazing looking movie. And like I liked the characters and stuff like that. Like it did a good job of translating the junkyard
Yeah.
into real life. Like that was
Um,
such a good movie. That was
That
such
was
a
the
good
other thing. It was a really, really good adaptation of Alita Battle Angel, the manga.
pretty much, yeah.
What I said earlier was I have that movie on DVD.
You have the movie on DVD?
Yeah,
Oh.
I didn't get to see it in theaters, so I bought a DVD and watched it.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Nice. Like it's a great movie. Also what was weird about it, like what was weird about that movie was that like journalists try to pit Captain Marvel against it. That was the weirdest thing. Like that was so weird because they're not even the same type of movie.
Yeah, it's like how they got triggered that Sonic the Hedgehog made more money than Birds of Prey.
It
And
was
it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's simply a better movie, guys. Like,
pretty
it-
much.
and that's why a bunch of people rallied around Alita Battle Angel, because she was actually a strong female character. She wasn't a feminist surrogate for the writer's character, which is the problem.
I think that's basically it. It was a movie that sent the wrong type of message that they don't want. Like
This
that
character is womaning wrong. She needs to be part of the feminist sisterhood to be a good female character.
I actually rewrote Birds of Prey when it, after I'd seen it. I actually went to the theater.
Somebody needed to.
Yeah, and I rewrote that, and it's on my other channel.
But
Which
you
is
know,
great.
it's disappointing. Well, not disappointing, but like Black Mask was in that movie, right? And I think he only put his mask on like once,
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the finale.
and then he got blown up by a grenade.
Also, according to Ewan McGregor, the guy that played him, he was supposed to be a stand-in for toxic masculinity. He
That
literally
makes me
said that
so
in several
sad.
interviews, and I'm just sitting there like, this is why this movie is terrible, because in exactly the same way as Pure Flix movies are terrible representations of Christianity because they're moralistic propaganda pieces. Birds of Prey is nothing but the feminist equivalent of a Pure Flix movie, basically.
Pretty much. Like, that'll be quick.
Mhm.
So it goes back to the fact that like your traits, your immutable characteristics have to represent you in some way. Like I can't be in anything except a movie about slavery. Dalton has to be in a movie that's about the struggles of being disabled, and Brainstormer has to be in a movie about tacos, you know?
Yeah, can I but speaking of that for a second, can I just go right ahead and say the movie Simon Birch is the worst movie I've ever fucking seen.
What
and
is
like
Simon Birch?
everyone seems to think that I should love that movie because it's a movie about a disabled kid. But that movie is just the worst pandering, moralizing schlock ever. And actually, it's a good example of the transition between the like TradCon Family Values Brigade and the social justice types, because it's a movie where a disabled. I think his disability specifically was being a little person, being a quote unquote dwarf. But it's a movie where he finds meaning in his disability through becoming a very devout Christian and being quote unquote God's instrument. And it's the most manipulative, pandering, moralizing schlock I've ever heard. I hate that fucking movie so fucking much.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that sounds dumb.
Will Smith is gonna be in Emancipation, so there you go.
Oh god. Anyway, Banana.
No, sorry, I had something about the Birds of Prey thing. Because
Okay.
Well, similar to what I had done with Batwoman for the rewrite I had done of her.
Which one? Which Batwoman? The actual Batwoman or the CW Batwoman?
He rewrote the show to be more in line with the comic, basically.
Oh
Yeah, okay.
wow.
For the record, I do a lot of research. Well, I did as much research as I could for things. Actually, currently I'm doing research for She-Hulk rewrite. I'm doing.
Ugh.
I haven't watched it. I've seen clips of it, and it's just so fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's really awful. Oh my god! I need to.
But-
I need you to see Brainstormer. I need you to see the "Come at Me, Bro" scene.
Is it? You know what? I'm scared.
So basically, I'll give you a brief summary. Okay, so there's a group. The bad guy group are
Intelligentsia. They turned it into 4chan.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yes. Okay. So the leader of Intelligentsia is a super misogynist who hates She-Hulk because he thinks only a woman should be Hulk, and he's supposed to be a stand-in for anybody who's like a critic of She-Hulk.
He literally pulled the "I didn't have to. I wasn't given superpowers. I had to earn them" line, because apparently the writers don't understand the impetus behind that line.
And basically, he gets She-Hulk's. He gets some of the Hulk formula in him, and he turns into a Hulk, and he goes, "Come at me, bro."
Yeah, it
is.
I've seen the image. I think of what you're referring to. I haven't watched it because I don't want to. But
oh god, it's cringe. Oh god, it's so very cringe.
So I'll say this quickly, right? I did not like Marvel movies for the longest time because I thought they were like Captain Marvel and Black Widow. I thought they were all like that until a Jess showed me a Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I hated Marvel movies for the longest time because I thought they were like Black Widow and fucking Captain Marvel.
You thought they were all cringe, basically.
Yeah, I thought they were all like that. And I thought they were like Eternals and shit. And I was like, this is awful. Why would anybody enjoy this crap?
Right. There's a thing that bugs me with like this stuff because I tried to do a rewrite of the Eternals. Scrapped that a while ago just because.
Yeah.
There's so much fucking wrong with it. It's hard to even fix it.
But I've done a lot of research for like a lot of things. I even tried doing a rewrite of Moon Knight. Scrap that one because I could not get the motivation to write it anymore. Because full honesty, my mind just goes 1,000 miles a minute with ideas and stuff, and so like everything just kind of falls. Some ideas fall to the wayside and stuff. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it pisses me off because when I do the research on like these things, like these adaptations and stuff, it pisses me off because they totally miss the mark on what makes these things super cool. Like
the comics are actually really interesting.
Yeah, like Batwoman, which was a character I had never known before. Well, I was aware of the character, but I had never looked into the character because it wasn't right. But then when I actually looked into it for the rewrite, it pissed me off because of what I had seen from the show is a total misrepresentation of the character.
Yes.
And kind of bringing it back to Birds of Prey, which was what I was going to bring up earlier. They turned Cassandra Cain into Stephanie Brown. They fucked up a really cool, really deep and interesting character that is Cassandra Cain, because she's the daughter of Lady Shiva and David Cain, two really skilled assassins that helped train Batman, whose daughter, like Cassandra, was trained at birth to be a weapon. Like, she can't even speak.
I think the easiest reason for a lot of these things is just that you have directors, and I still think they have this issue with respecting comic book material and seeing it as a legitimate form of entertainment. So
yeah, they can't see it as on par with like literature or novels or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, so I think they just kind of recontextualize it, and then you get crap.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm fine with changing something if it works to make something better. Like, I do that all the time when I do adaptation rewrites. Like, I've done that with She-Hulk stuff, to make it work in the MCU.
Yeah.
But like Birds of Prey, Captain Marvel, Eternals, She-Hulk, it's just complete fucking farce.
Well, the other half of it is that the social justice warriors are doing with modern movies exactly what the TradCon Family Values Brigade of yesteryear did to movies. Something like Birds of Prey is closest equivalent to like Mazes and Monsters, if anyone remembers that movie. It's
Oh, the
literally
D&D is the
yeah,
D&D like
it's
world
literally
thing.
like a propaganda dark fantasy movie about how Dungeons and Dragons is a portal for demons to enter the world, literally.
I saw that movie. I thought it would be cringe excellence, but it was just really boring.
Yeah, no. But yeah, that's the thing though. Things like Birds of Prey or Captain Marvel are to the social justice academics what things like Pure Flix movies or like Rocketeer Decision or um Mazes and Monsters were for the
Mazes
TradCon
and
evangelicals of yesteryear.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Anyway, shall we continue?
We shall banana.
Alright. Oh shit, I gotta use the bathroom. 1 second.
Okay, let's just wait for Hitler.
Alright.
Besides, I think Dragon Turtle said some things we might want to.
Right.
And also Kono.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna. Alright. It's also easier, both in effort and in ability, to using this interesting world. I think referring to what you'd said about like the movie Cynic and You and stuff. Like it's cheaper to do, cheaper to like keep it on Earth and stuff and all that. Next, you're going to say that they should actually try to introduce new rules, abilities, or limitations without plot holes.
Well, yes, they should. They definitely should.
Or even just an interesting plot besides ripping off something else and not understanding why it worked in the first place.
I mean,
well, there's that too.
Also, also they seem to think that like some of the older interpretations of the material were like problematic for modern audiences, and that it has to be fixed.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I gotta change my avatar. Jesus Christ, I'm tired of looking at this eye thing here. Let me see.
Dragon Turtle again. I think part of it is also the normie bias. They would rather be starring in more normal shows like Titanic, Friends, etc. Maybe some action movies, but anything weird like sci-fi or fantasy, nope.
That's an interesting point, actually. That is an interesting point. Believe it or not, Orson Welles was the voice of I think so.
Unicron.
Yeah, for Unicorn, right? And
Unicron.
he hated being the voice of Unicron. He was like, he described it as like they wanted me to be the voice of a toy, and like even Chadwick Boseman, right? He hated being T'Challa. Like,
wait, seriously?
Yeah, he didn't like being T'Challa.
I didn't realize that. I thought he loved being T'Challa. I didn't realize he had a problem with it.
Let me see. Let me make sure. Hold on.
Hello, Ahsoka Tano Gaming. They say hello, Dom.
Hi, Ahsoka.
Hello. Let me see. Let me see. Boseman backstory. Uh, let me see. Yeah, like sometimes, but yeah, like you said, some people don't want to be associated with, I guess, what they consider to be like
Childish.
childish. I guess it's like I don't want to be associated with some childish comic book movie. I want to be
Yeah,
taken seriously as an actor.
childish things. But I didn't realize that Chadwick Boseman had such an issue playing T'Challa.
I'm trying to find where I read it from. Actually, let me see if I can find it.
Because I mean, the man had cancer while getting in superhero shape. So even if he had a problem with it, he must have stowed his bullshit and actually devoted himself to the character. Because to bulk up like that while having cancer, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Pretty much, like, see if I can find it, because I remember hearing that. Let's see, not hearing it, reading about it. Let's see.
And by the
Anyway,
way, Brie Larson, that means you are fully out of excuses for not pulling yourself entirely into the character. Because apparently Chadwick Boseman didn't like playing his character either, and he still managed to bulk up while dying of cancer. And
wait,
didn't even so much as once mention that he was dying of cancer.
Brie Larson hated her. Wait, Brie Larson hated her character, really?
She hated being in Captain Marvel, and she resented working out for it.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I guess that explains why. I guess that explains why she was just this like super bitch about the entire thing.
Yeah. She thought she was better than the material, and also insisted on throwing a bunch of feminist bullshit into her character. Because both as a good thing for Marvel and a bad thing for Marvel, they do let the actors have a lot of say so in terms of how their characters are portrayed and how their characters are written.
Yeah.
And usually that works out in their favor. But with someone like Brie Larson, whose only purpose on this earth appears to be being a feminist, a feminist fucking priest, it meant they turned Carol Danvers into the uber feminist bitch that we all have so much contempt for she deserves it.
It's really funny too because like I had, like I said, when I had I didn't had no expectations for Captain Marvel other than that I knew it was going to be shit, and I was just like, oh, this is worse than I thought.
Yeah, I think
Even you were like, I expected this to be bad, but I wasn't expecting it to be this bad. God damn it!
Pretty much, yeah.
yeah, I think that was actually like one of the I was on a Nightwolf stream. That was like one of my first times ever like being on the internet.
Who is Nightwolf? Who is that?
Wait, you don't know Nightwolf? I thought you guys knew each other.
Nightwolf.
Nightwolf Plays.
Nightwolf play. Hold on, let me. Nightwolf plays or Blaze?
Plays with a P.
Nightwolf plays. Let me see.
How the fuck have you never met Nightwolf? The fuck is
Was he one of us?
he was one of us. Nightwolf was actually kind of responsible for me and Brainstorm meeting each other in the first place.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. It's small world
England,
after all.
because England team was responsible for. So he must have changed his name. No, here it is. Nightwolf plays. Okay. He makes a lot of YouTube shorts.
Yeah.
Oh wait, is he black?
No.
Okay, there's literally some black dude named Nightwolf Plays who has like a bunch of YouTube shorts.
Yeah. No. Different guy.
Mr. Superman 4000. No, okay, does he have six subscribers?
No.
No.
Okay.
He should. It should be something like 600 or so, I think.
Nightwolf Plays 13 subscribers. He
It's Night
must
with
have changed.
it's
Go
Night,
ahead, Brainstormer.
it's Night with a K.
Night with a K. Oh, okay. Nightwolf Plays. Okay. Nightwolf plays. Okay, let me separate plays from Nightwolf and almost. No, Nightwolf plays 55 subscribers. That is I cannot find this guy's channel.
He must have changed his name somehow then, I guess, because he used to be like a comics YouTuber, and he was part of quote unquote Comicsgate back when it was back before EBS took it over. And he and me and Ozchris and Switchpoint used to do.
He goes by Nightwolf VT now.
Nightwolf VT?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because he wanted to kind of change his channel direction and be a VTuber. That's what happened there. Okay.
Nightwolf VT. Oh, he has 997 subscribers. Okay.
Yeah, I know it was fairly close to 1,000 last time I checked it, but I didn't think he had crossed over it yet.
Okay. Do you still talk to him?
I mean, the last video we made was the last video I think he had me on was we did a tier list for all the Power Ranger seasons. And it was like 6 hours. Jesus fucking Christ.
Nightwolf VT. Let me see what's on his Twitter here. He follows 18 people. I follow him. Who is this? Oh wow, he's followed by a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm kind of amazed that you never met Nightwolf in all the years we've been doing this.
Nightwolf. His name sounds familiar.
I mean, I think we even had him on some of the early episodes of this show, if I'm not misremembering.
Yeah, actually, way before we ever even before you even.
Yeah, because it was in the like early days of this show where because wasn't he here when we were talking about Captain Marvel and people trying to
Nightwolf. That name sounds familiar.
He's a guy who's like 35, but his voice is much younger than the rest of him apparently. Because like every time anyone like talks to him, they always think he must be like 19 or something. Because his voice is so much like younger than the rest of it.
I assume 20s.
Let me see. His name sounds really familiar. Nightwolf. What does that remind me of?
Chrononauts.
Gundam.
You interacted with him back in the day. If it is, so I think you were part of the early Thunderdome judges and characters as well as participants.
The name Nightwolf comes from Gundam. It's a Gundam reference.
Oh, I know. I think I know him. I think I've met him before. But
I was gonna say because I could have sworn you guys had been on streams together before.
I think I have met him before. The thing is, even back then I'm really flaky, so which is something I admit I am incredibly flaky. So I might have just not been able to I might have met him like a few times, but yeah, I think so. I will admit I am really flaky.
Anyway, but Corrupt's failure to remember people who he should definitely know aside, back to the trailer. Banana.
Hammock.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out who that icon is for you, Corrupt. Is that looks familiar, but I can't place it.
Oh, this icon? It's like a character. It's some random fucking icon that I found. Some random character that I found. Right now I'm just trying to decide what is a good icon I can use on here because like they're all so small. So I'm trying to find something that people can actually like make out.
Right.
When they actually see it. Because Dalton's the only one with like a really huge avatar. Although that's just his face, but still.
Yeah, I got it. I was gonna say because my camera's been on for like several dozen streams at this point.
Anyway, shall we Continue.
Banana.
Yep, let's go.
I should have stayed on the phone. I should have listened to my own mind.
It's a secret universe beneath ours. What are you so afraid of?
I don't really have anything to say, honestly.
Again, I'm just looking forward to them staying in an interesting background for the entire movie instead of using them basically as glorified screensavers like they usually do. So
I guess I don't know.
I just feel like the story isn't really grabbing me, you know.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't want to sound like a buzzkill, but like this just doesn't interest me. Like outside of like, ooh, the landscape is weird, but like outside of that, it just.
I think the only thing that's
doesn't seem
interesting that has grabbed me for this is I want to see Kang.
that is the one thing that I don't know what Marvel is thinking here, but introducing I mean I guess they did introduce Thanos properly in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, so this has some precedent, but like the idea of introducing the next big bad of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, because Kang is supposed to be the next Thanos level threat, and that's fine because Kang is a character who could be a Thanos level threat. But introducing Kang in an Ant-Man movie of all things is just it's a very risky move. I mean I hope it pays off for them, but it strikes me as odd because, and maybe this is a bias I have against Ant-Man, but Ant-Man has always struck me as kind of the also-ran of the MCU, like every other character, and also Ant-Man.
Basically, Ant-Man is a bit of a C-lister when it comes to Marvel shit. So introducing your next big bad in here is kind of like the equivalent of if Thanos was introduced in like what is it? What was that, like Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel or whatever that show was?
Yeah.
Like it's just like why? Then
See,
again,
like I said though, they did introduce Thanos in Guardians 1, so like it works kind of. Maybe what they're trying to do is they're trying to get hype for Ant-Man by going, "Hey guys, we're gonna introduce Kang in this movie here, so make sure you come and see Ant-Man."
Well, okay, so the thing that kind of gets me is I do agree with you, brother, is that Ant-Man is somewhat of a C-list, specifically Scott Lang, because Hank Pym, I would argue B-list at the very least, because he obviously
I don't think Corrupt or I don't think either Corrupt or myself are arguing in terms of the comics. I think we just mean in terms of the MCU.
No,
in terms of the character as we've gotten presented it in the MCU, Ant-Man is C-list.
Pretty much.
Right. I'm not arguing that. What I was going to say is like I kind of wish they would have elevated him more, at least something, because the MCU has an interesting thing, and I think I've told Dalton this before, but they have a unique opportunity to elevate certain characters that are technically F to D, C, whatever,
making them A-list, because Captain America was originally kind of a B or C-list character, and they made him a star. Same with Iron Man, same with Black Widow. So like the only A-list character they had in the MCU originally was Hulk, and ironically he's the one who gets the least A-list treatment in phase 1 and 2.
Like then again, he was initially the one who carried She-Hulk so that people would actually watch the show. Unfortunately,
and again, if they had written She-Hulk like the character from the freaking comics, that wouldn't have been necessary. But since they tried to make her the cynical, bitter embodiment of Type A feminist bullshit, they had to.
What's funny about that is that She-Hulk is like a super empowered, is like a super empowered woman. So reducing her to this like whiny, like misandristic femcel was kind of weird.
Yep, but they did. And they made Kevin Feige a robot because apparently the writers wanted to stick it to Kevin Feige. As though that's a smart decision to piss off the guy who's the producer of the entire goddamn studio.
Why not a Chainsaw Man for an icon, Corrupt? Since that's popular.
It's been Chainsaw Man has been out for a minute. It's on episode 4, I think. It looks like the manga is amazing. The fucking anime looks amazing. I really want to watch it. Oh my god.
I have seen bits and pieces of it, and I've heard good things about it. I'll be honest, not really my thing.
On the topic of anime, does anyone know when Overlord Season 4 is coming out?
Wait, what?
Overlord Season 4. Because
when is it coming out?
I watched the first 3 seasons of Overlord with my ex-boyfriend. My ex-boyfriend got me into them, and now I'm annoyed because they ended on a goddamn cliffhanger, and I'm waiting for... Apparently, the manga is far ahead of the anime, and I sort of want to go ahead and read the manga, but at the same time, I don't want to get invested in the way that manga does it in case they change stuff. So it's like I want there to be an Overlord Season 4, please.
I will look into it for you, sir.
All right.
So it's not. I think you'd enjoy it, Brains. Like it's 50-50. I think you'd enjoy Chainsaw Man, but then you never.
I enjoy the art style, and I've seen the action, and it looks really like just. It kind of reminds me of Evil Dead, sort of.
Yes, it is very much like Evil Dead. It is very much horror comedy at its finest. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
I think you would enjoy it. Yeah.
In any case, Banana.
Right.
All right. Oh, now Kang's gonna show up, I guess.
There's something I never told you.
This place. It is what you think.
Is it just me, or are all these movies so just generic? They all just blend in together.
Well, I mean, that's always been a problem for the Ant-Man franchise, and I think that's why they're trying to kind of give it more of a Guardians-y vibe, like the trailer music and everything, because Ant-Man's biggest problem is, up until now, it really hasn't had much of a flavor of its own, but I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to blend together aspects of Guardians and Doctor Strange to kind of have Ant-Man be almost the linchpin between Guardians, Doctor Strange, and eventually the Fantastic Four, because of course Kang is a Fantastic Four character.
Yeah.
And this also might be the kind of route they go with the Fantastic Four when they bring in the Fantastic Four, which wouldn't be a bad choice, I don't think.
Wait till they fuck up Thunderbolts, says Chrononaut.
Well, no, Chrono, they've already fucked up Thunderbolts by not including any of the characters they should have included. Like they made the entire Thunderbolts team nothing but generic super soldiers. They didn't include the Abomination. They didn't include any Asgardian characters. They didn't include any cosmic characters. They didn't include any magic users, including Agatha, which would have been the, because it seemed like when they pitched the idea of Thunderbolt, it seemed like they were trying to give all of the like side characters from all the different Marvel projects in Phase 4. It seemed like they were trying to give them a place to like cross over with each other. But instead of including any of the minor characters from Phase 4, like they didn't include Abomination from She-Hulk, they didn't include anyone from Miss Marvel, they didn't include anyone from Shang-Chi, they didn't include Agatha from WandaVision, they didn't include anyone from Loki.
Wait, is Is that the new one they're doing with like Black Widow's sister as Black Widow?
Yeah,
And like
they're basically doing for Marvel what Suicide Squad did for DC, or at least that's what they're trying
okay,
to
yeah,
do.
that's what I thought because I remember seeing that and I was like, ew, they're using not Taskmaster.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm sitting there like, if the purpose of Thunderbolts was to be the team up crossover movie for this phase, which is fine, then bring in all the like minor characters from all the different Phase 4 projects. Like, for fuck's sake, why didn't you include Agatha from WandaVision? She was the breakout character in that.
I guess it's because they wanted to include characters they thought would be quote unquote realistic.
Well,
Maybe.
but yeah, the problem with that is the purpose of these team up movies is basically everyone from every corner of the MCU gets a representative. So you had, like, in the first Avengers, you had Cap, you had Thor, you had Iron Man, and you had Hulk, and also Black Widow, and Hawkeye. In the second Avengers, you had the main group of Avengers, and then you had Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch introduced. And then the third one, you basically had everybody from all the different corners crossing over. So you had people in Wakanda, people from Asgardian, people from the Asgardian corner, people from the Guardians corner, people from the Magical corner. Like, the purpose of these team up movies basically is to have a team that has at least one member from every corner of the MCU. And if the purpose of Thunderbolts is to be the capstone for Phase 4 and 5, which it should be, then what they should do is they should take all the like side characters from all the different projects. So somebody from Shang-Chi, somebody from Ant-Man 2, which they do have Ghost from Ant-Man 2 on the team currently. But somebody from Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Isn't that the black chick who they were afraid to make evil?
Yes.
I remember her.
I didn't think she was black, but I might not be remembering Ant-Man 2 well.
Hold on, let me see here.
I could have sworn she was a white chick, but I might be wrong.
She wasn't white. I assumed Hispanic.
Let me see here.
But either way, she was very, very light skinned. So one way or the other,
she is really light skinned. Hold on, like, this is weird. I don't even know what, like, she's a mystery ethnicity. There we go. Like, I'm not really sure, but like the first time I saw that it was a chick, so this is probably a little sexist of me, but the first time that I saw it was a chick, I was like, oh, she's a good guy.
Yeah, she couldn't possibly be evil because that would require allowing us to believe that women can be evil.
They typically don't make women evil in like MCU movies anymore.
I mean, to be fair, they did a bang up job with making Wanda the villain, even though it made everyone bitch.
Oh yeah, like they turned her into, she was supposed to be sympathetic. Oh, she just wants her kids.
Yeah, Tiger Mom plus Darkhold equals multiversal genocide, apparently.
I do like the fact that they tried to make her like menacing and evil, but they tried to make her really sympathetic at the same time. I don't know. It just
I thought they did a good job with her. The biggest problem was some of the writing. The problem with Multiverse of Madness is they, for some reason, instead of just having Sam Raimi write and direct the thing, they had him direct it, but they had Michael Waldron, whose biggest claim to fame before this was writing Loki, write the script. And I'm like, why wouldn't you just have Sam Raimi write and direct? Because we know Sam Raimi can do this. Standing on his fucking head at this point.
So I looked up to Corrupt. So apparently she's half Norwegian and half Nigerian.
Okay, so I was half correct.
Yeah, she is a person of color, although apparently in a very, very roundabout way, which explains why I thought she was white, Brainstormer thought she was Hispanic, and you thought she was black. she's kind of simultaneously not anything, but also everything. Anyway, back to the trailer.
Fun fact, I'm also working on Thunderbolts rewrite / pitch for the MCU.
All right, nice.
Yes, and I helped him with it, so it should be.
You kind of
good.
help.
Oh, fuck you! Now all of a sudden my help doesn't count as help.
Let's be fair, I had most of it figured out. I think you just helped add a few things.
Didn't I convince you to change the villain to White Vision so that everyone had a reason to be involved?
Oh, yeah. To be fair, my original pitch was for the Power Broker or Sharon Carter to be the villain.
And I pointed out that kind of they kind of were combined. The premise of the movie was kind of combining Dark Avengers and Thunderbolts, so the kind of purpose was for it to be like a evil version of the Avengers. So you needed a villain who could justifiably bring everyone together. So I suggested using White Vision as the villain for Thunderbolts.
Also, I'm
And
having
you were right.
Morbius be part of this because fuck Morbius, he's not in another dimension.
Yeah,
You
fair
don't
play.
want-
That movie.
He's
That movie.
Morbin, but it's Morbin time, guys.
No.
Although I did do a rewrite of that. Morbius.
Morbin time shall be forever stricken from all clocks ever. From this point forward, because I say so.
The guys, Dalton, are you morbing? Are you morbing right now, Dalton?
Fun fact: I actually swapped. I put Matt Smith in the role of Morbius because I think he was a better actor than Jared Leto.
He was a bit like he was.
To be fair, that's not a high bar.
Fair.
You know what? I have a controversial hot take for all of you. I liked and understood the concept of his Joker. That is my.
Well, I
hot
did
take.
too. Like he's the pimp, and Harley Quinn. Yeah, we had a conversation
Yeah,
about this.
the concept isn't the issue. The issue is A, the execution, and B, the sheer just cringe edgelordness of it all.
I mean, like the edgelord thing. I don't know. I will give you that the concept was executed poorly, but the idea for Joker that I feel like they were going with was a
Modernizing the gangster
Yeah,
angle made sense.
exactly.
It's just they didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, and we had a conversation about this years ago when we're talking about. I think when they had the first images of. Honestly, was this the first mention of Birds of Prey? And I talked about
It might have been, or it might have been when they were first doing when they first revealed the images of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
I remember that.
Yeah, I referred to him and Harley Quinn. He was the newer version of the gangster, and Harley Quinn was his hoe.
It was. Yeah, basically, yeah. The idea, as I saw it, was that this is how he's basically a hood nigga. That's pretty much it.
Gangsters aren't gangsters anymore. They're literally gang members, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, he's like a gang member instead of a gangster. And I understood the concept. I thought it was a novel idea. It was just executed poorly.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think the other problem is Jared Leto, performance-wise, and even to some degree the voice he went with for his Joker, was trying so hard to be just a ripoff of Heath Ledger's Joker, and it bothered me. Even their voices are similar, and I might be the only person who's ever noticed that, but I swear to God, the biggest problem with Jared Leto's Joker, I think, is that he's trying so hard to be Heath Ledger and not succeeding.
Yeah,
rather than trying to make it his own thing like Joaquin Phoenix did, he's trying to be the next Heath Ledger and failing horribly.
Exactly, that's the problem. He wanted to be his version of Heath Ledger instead of his version of the Joker.
Yeah.
Right.
And as a result, this generation's Joker is not Jared Leto, but is in fact Joaquin Phoenix.
Right.
Anyway, Banana.
Yeah.
When are we going to see some Kang? I want to see some Kang on Kang action.
Oh, the Kang.
I can get you hope. And give you more time. if you'd help me. So,
I don't
It just,
have anything to say. I just,
it's okay. Like it's just part of me wants to just be like, this is just meh. I mean,
I guess the
looks
issue with me
nice.
is that we don't see Kang, and here's the thing: Kang is a really interesting character.
Well, but the thing is, what they're going to do and what they're trying to do is they're going to reveal different versions of Kang throughout the course of Phase 5 and 6, and then the various different versions of Kang are going to fight each other.
Well, I mean that's. I mean, I'm used to that.
So this isn't the MC. This isn't actually the MCU's version of Kang the Conqueror. This is just a version of Kang who got stuck in the quantum realm.
I guess the biggest issue is this tends to be a big thing with like Marvel lately is they kind of water down the characters.
Yeah, they do. They water them down to make them digestible for people
Right,
who don't
okay,
read
so-
comics.
Full disclosure, the interpretation of King I'm used to is the one from Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like the legit version from the comics because I feel like it's a lot more complicated in the comics.
Yeah, they tweaked him a little bit for EMH.
Right. Okay, that's fine.
But yeah, like I mean, but yeah, I mean they do like again they do water down these characters so that the movie going audience who doesn't read comics will be able to like know and understand who the character is.
Well, I can understand that, but my problem is that they water down them so much that they're basically not the characters they're adapting.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, again, I'm like, I do this all the time when I do write yes, I write fan fictions, okay? Fuck off. Well, yeah, I write, like, fan fictions of, like, I put in the work for it, though, mind you. Not like other fan fiction writers.
Yeah.
And again, specifically the rewrites I've done, I do research on those characters, and they're very interesting characters. Like, and just see how like they're poorly mishandled and stuff. That's kind of the issue. But I am willing to change things. Like I've done it with She-Hulk, because okay, spoiler alert. I guess it's not really that important, but I have her established in the 5 years between Infinity War and Endgame.
That's interesting.
Well, one thing, they have this big chunk of time where basically you could have introduced a bunch of fucking characters. Like you could have had the series, like the short series.
You could have had all the minor characters in the TV shows be set during the 5 years, so they're already established come Endgame.
Yeah.
Someone made an interesting point about She-Hulk. Like, it's not really supposed to be an MCU show. It's supposed to be a sitcom. Like, it's supposed to be viewed in the context of a sitcom.
Okay, but even in sitcom terms, it's shit though. I mean,
it is shit. I agree with you.
Yeah,
It is a shitty sitcom, though. I agree. I agree with that.
I mean, sitcoms, you know, for as bad as something like the Big Bang Theory is, it's not as bad as She-Hulk.
Yeah, like She-Hulk is a shit sitcom though. It's shit regardless of what it is.
Anyway, Dragon Turtle, you spelled Kang wrong. It's K-A-N-G.
We was Kangs.
Well, he wrote Kane, not Kane.
I swear to God, someone in
oh my God, and he's black. That's amazing. I never thought about that.
Someone in Secret Wars is going to make the Weegless Kang. Like, I imagine one of one of the only exist to be killed versions of Kang in Secret Wars in the various, like, the army of Kangs is going to literally say, "We was Kangs," and then the actual badass Kang the Conqueror version of Kang is going to shoot him.
Right.
I swear to God, if that isn't a thing, then like that's a freebie, Marvel. Feel free to watch this stream and take that idea, please.
Yeah, Kang is played by Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
Who is black, but also I think he actually would, if they actually would let him play the real character, would do a fantastic.
And they will at some point. Again, the idea is they're gonna introduce multiple versions of Kang throughout Phase 5 and 6, and then have them go at it.
I honestly doubt they're going to. I'll be fully honest.
I mean that's again, I realize I'm kind of going off of rumors, so grain of salt, but according to sources that I normally consider to be reliable, the idea is they're going to introduce multiple versions of Kang throughout the course of Phase 5 and 6, and then have basically a whole army of Kangs subservient to the proper Kang the Conqueror, be the villain in Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty.
So
that's why it's called Kang Dynasty, is because there's going to be a whole army's worth of Kangs.
it would make sense considering MCU Phase 4 has just been a bunch of loose like isolated stories with no real like thread between any of them. Which, I mean, which can be a good thing or a bad thing, but they're all their own kind of isolated stories. Whereas Phase 2, whereas the other phases had an overarching kind of story that like wove them all, wove everything together. So it makes sense that they would want some kind of thread through all of these things.
From what I hear, and this is kind of backed up by what happened at the end of Loki when we first got introduced to the Immortus version of Kang. From what I hear, the purpose of these various versions of Kang is to die in their respective movies, and then as they're dying, they set up for, you realize every time one of me dies, a worse version of me spawns, right? And that's going to be kind of the setup for Kang the Conqueror, is every time a lesser version of Kang dies, a worse version shows up. So eventually it's going to result in the existence of Kang the Conqueror.
Although
presumably in Fantastic Four.
Although I am somewhat curious if they're going to do Iron Lad, because that is a young.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense, and given that they're kind of setting up Young Avengers, it would make sense to do that, because Cassie Lang is supposed to become Stature in this movie, and of course they already set up Wiccan and Speed. Presumably they're going to set up Hulkling at some point in the not so distant future as well. Although I have a terrible fear they're going to use Scar instead of Hulkling, because they set up.
They were going to use Scar since they introduced him.
Yeah, they introduced Scar at the end of She-Hulk, so I have a terrible fear they're going to replace Hulkling with Scar.
Yeah, that fucking design, man, that was so horrible.
Presumably, the in-movie version is going to be better. Same thing with Jen's design. I think the biggest problem with the She-Hulk design as yet is TV budget. But nevertheless, I have a terrible fear they're going to just replace Ted with Scar and have him be Hulkling.
Anyway,
this is my son, Scar. Okay.
But in any case, they are setting up Young Avengers. But the question is, are they going to use Iron Lad as a version of Kang, which would make sense, or are they going to use Riri?
I'm sorry, just sidetrack, because it's kind of relating to the She-Hulk thing of like the rewrite I'm working on. I did research on Titania.
Titania is just a bad bitch in the fucking comics, and then they turned her.
I like, again, it's like one of those things of like doing the research. Holy shit, did they fuck up that character immensely?
Titania is a monster, man.
Like seriously, dude, it just like fucking pisses me off.
Like, because she's like a Titan, so a Titan. That's why her name is Titania. I love
Right.
that.
Also, I do want to point this out. Because of the research I had done of the character, I actually recasted her myself in a fan casting.
So who was she played by?
Hold on, let me look that up real quick. Cause I
Let me see.
Wait, Chrono says he thought they already cast Iron Lad. I heard that casting was for Wiccan, not Iron Lad. Chrono, but and we already saw the younger version of Billy in WandaVision, so presumably that makes sense. But because the casting I think you're referring to is the casting for Agatha Coven of Chaos, and it makes far more sense to put Billy, aka Wiccan, in Coven of Chaos than it does to put Iron Lad in there for no reason.
I think they're gonna go with Riri since she was already introduced in Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, she's getting introduced.
You know
Wakanda
what?
Forever hasn't come out yet.
You know what, Dalton? You and me are gonna do the Wakanda Forever salute.
No.
Yes.
Also, I'm pretty sure I'll get canceled if I try to do that because, of course, I happen to be white, and that happens to be a massive bug up the ass of all the BLM people. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm racially allowed to do the Wakanda Forever salute.
Okay, so to answer your question of my fan casting for Titania, Eliza Dushku, I believe is how you say it. For those who don't know who that is, she played Faith in Buffy the Vampire Slayer series.
Isn't she like old as fuck?
She's 41.
What does she look like? Is she? She's not like a muscle mommy though, is she?
No, she looks fine.
But like I don't. I've always felt that like Titania.
Tatiana Maslany, who plays She-Hulk, is 37. The reason why I picked her is because she's closer in age to Tatiana Maslany, and I kind of have them be the childhood friends in my adaptation of She-Hulk for the MCU. So that's why I kind of picked her, and also she's a great actress that I think could play Titania rather well. So.
Well, Faith was a great character. I loved
even
her
if she didn't last very long.
I mean, she was around for like seasons after seasons.
Also in Angel.
Faith was only around for I think 2 seasons, right?
No, she was in Angel too. Like
yeah.
That's right. She got shunted to the spinoff. That's what happened. Okay.
Not only that.
Don't fucking say that, okay?
Okay, wait. How many seasons was she? Like, she was in the season with the mayor because she was the mayor's right hand man.
Yeah, she was basically his enforcer.
Yeah.
In season, I want to say that was season 2. It might have been season 3. No, because season 3 was the beginning of the Initiative storyline. So yeah, it was season 2. I don't think she lasted much longer after. I don't think she lasted much longer after season 2. She might have been in season 3 in like 1 or 2 episodes, because I remember there was a storyline where Buffy and Faith switched bodies, and Riley ended up banging Faith without realizing it, and it was a whole thing. But I think that was the last storyline she was a part of.
She was also part of like the later seasons. They come back.
Let me see here.
Wait, when did she come back? Because she wasn't around during the Glory storyline. She wasn't around during Dark Willow. She wasn't around during
Final Battle deal.
Did she come back during season 6?
Yeah.
Or 7?
Let me see. She was okay. There were 7 seasons, right? It says that she was introduced in the 3rd season of Buffy. Let me see.
Okay, so yeah, season 3 was the mayor, season 4 was the Initiative, season 5 was Glory. Okay, that makes sense then.
I mean, in a show with 7 seasons, 3 seasons is not bad.
Plus, she got further developed in the Angel series.
Right, yeah, like I said, she got moved over to the spinoff
seen-
along with Cordy and
Okay. You say shunted off into the spin-off. Like, Angel was like a major series.
Honestly, I would argue it's
no, I know, but but what I'm saying is she wasn't around in the main series for most of it. Because she didn't show up much in the Initiative storyline. Again, I think there was one episode where they switched bodies. She wasn't around during Glory. She wasn't around during the Trio or Dark Willow. She wasn't around during She wasn't around apparently until the end of the first.
Glory was like the dark was such a terrible season. Oh my god, what a terrible villain.
I like Glory as a character. I do.
I'm sorry. Wait. Let me say her full name. You like Glorificus.
I do. Glorificus. The idea of Buffy literally fighting a god, albeit a minor one, is an interesting idea, and the whole like cult of medieval fucktards whose whole existence is related to stopping her. And somehow they get at cross purposes with the gang. That was the biggest issue of the Glory storyline was Dawn. The retconning of, well, actually Buffy has a sister now because reasons like that.
Oh yeah, because the key turned into Dawn.
Yeah, that whole my biggest problem with Dawn isn't even the stuff in her introductory season, isn't even in the Glory season. It's that for some reason, after Glory was defeated, the key didn't return to its original state, and so Dawn just stays around forever.
And we were stuck with her.
And again, I don't even hate Dawn as a character, but I hate the way I hate the idea of, well, Buffy's entire history as a character, 5 seasons in, is now retconned because reasons. And it pisses me off because I like the idea of Buffy having a sister, but if this was going to be a thing, it should have been a thing 5 fucking seasons ago.
Instead of it just being this contrived plot device. I'm sorry.
Well, that and what's more, introducing Dawn 5 seasons in, and they did confirm that their spell rewrote time as well. So that means the entire events of season 1 to 4 of Buffy didn't actually play out in the current timeline like we saw them play out, because in this version of events, Dawn was there all along. So that's a massive fuck you to the fan base, and it bothers me that nobody fucking pays attention to it. It's like,
I guess it's because like there was no I mean, Buffy still was killed by the Master, who is my favorite villain, obviously. All those things still happen. It's just she has a sister now. I mean, I guess that's how people saw it. I'm not saying
right.
that...
I know, but it still bothers me because now whenever I go back to watch season 1 to 4, it's like, well, season 1 to 4 is basically non-canon now because in this version of events, Buffy has a sister.
Yeah. Anyway,
and I even like Michelle Trachtenberg as an actress. I thought she did a really good job, but like, nevertheless, it's just we're going to force an energy field from another dimension to be a person now, and she's not going to stop being a person once the events that relate to her have passed. Anyway, moving on.
She was kind of useless too. You know?
Yeah.
Also, fun fact: I recasted the Wrecking Crew because they totally fucked up those characters too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if anyone noticed this. If you have seen the She-Hulk series, I assume you two have, that being Dawn.
Yes, I am familiar with the series.
I have suffered through She-Hulk.
They whitewashed a black character in that show.
Oh yeah, they turned one of the black characters white, and nobody complained about it because nobody knows the comics.
Thunderball.
Yeah.
Part of the Wrecking Crew. And for the record, I've looked up the Wrecking Crew. They're really fucking cool.
They're actually really strong too.
Yeah, no, they're actually like foes of Thor.
What's funny is that they were just downgraded to these clowns that you'll probably never see. And
they were basically on the same level in the show as the bank robbers that Spider-Man stops at the beginning of Homecoming. That's basically what they turn them into.
I don't.
Which is really sad. Like
It's stupid.
Marvel has such like
An
Disney
interesting catalog that they never
Marvel
fucking
has
use.
such an expansive, even if you don't like cape shit, right? Marvel still has like an expansive universe of of diverse characters that they could choose from, and Disney just does not do anything with them. They're first and foremost just like they just cherry pick things that might be usable and disposable. That's it. Like everything's treated as disposable.
To be fair, they are setting up the like supernatural monster side of the universe now with Werewolf by Night and Blade. So they might finally be getting around to it.
Apparently, they're going to replace Blade with his sister, so with his daughter. So we won't even get a chance to really have Blade.
Where did you hear that?
Let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay, well, we got 20 seconds left of this, so.
Yeah, let's banana while Corrupt is looking for that.
What's it gonna be?
February 17th, 2023.
Yeah, again, it looks like the best of the Ant-Man franchise, but that's a very low bar to fill because the Ant-Man franchise is kind of the also-ran of the MCU.
Damn, Dalton.
And I'm not saying that in a disparaging way. I'm being as descriptive as I can. Like, Ant-Man is sort of also there in the MCU.
I agree.
The thing is, I kind of think they could have worked if they kept Michael Sheen. The guy who's playing him.
I think he's in this.
No, he is. What I meant is keep him as Ant-Man, just a really old hero.
Well, that is the problem though. Is if you have Michael Douglas, I think is the one you were thinking of.
Right. Sorry.
If you have Michael Douglas be Ant-Man, then either you're gonna have to spend a bunch of money de-aging him, or you're going to have him eventually pass the torch anyway.
Yeah, I know, but like.
So here we go. Apparently, she's starring in it, but so I'm reading it. It says that she's starring in it, but nothing beyond that. Like that's what's happening. That's what I'm finding.
Okay, because
that could have been fake news.
Because I had never heard anything about them replacing Blade with his daughter by the end of Blade 1. So it doesn't mean they won't do it. It just means that because I usually try to keep my ear to the ground on all the behind the scenes shenanigans and stuff, but I hadn't heard anything along the lines of they're going to gender swap and
not gender swap, just like torch pass basically.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about that. Although to be fair, I also didn't hear that they were including Blade's daughter or that Blade would have a daughter in the new one. So
let me see here.
If they introduce Blade just to kill him off and replace him with a female, younger version, I'm gonna be pissed.
Let me see. Okay, there's a lot of. Okay, let me see. All right. So what I'm hearing is that. So what I'm seeing is that there's hints that she's being. It's so weird. Like this, the stuff with Blade is so weird because there's so many conflicting reports about it.
Well, because they don't really know, from what I hear, they don't really know what direction they want to go in with it, and everyone keeps dropping out of the position because they just don't know what to do with the material.
Yeah, the guy playing Blade is really frustrated with what's happening.
Honestly, if it were up to me, given the awesomeness that was Werewolf by Night, and given that Blade fits in with the monster side of the MCU anyway, have Michael Giacchino direct it. I think he could do a really good job.
The
Because he
Werewolf
did.
by Night.
Because he did a really good job with Werewolf by Night. And if he essentially what I would like to see happen is Michael Giacchino does for the supernatural side of the MCU what
Oh, what Kevin
James Gunn.
Feige does.
Well, no, what James Gunn did for like the cosmic side with Guardians
Oh,
and then Ragnarok and so on.
okay.
Because obviously they were kind of obviously Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder were kind of trying to recapture what made Guardians work in Thor 3 and 4. So if they do something similar with that, using Michael Giacchino's style in Werewolf by Night to kind of unify the monster side of the MCU, I wouldn't mind that. Especially because Michael Giacchino used to be the composer for Doctor Strange 1. So if they wanted to tie in the monster supernatural side of the MCU with the mystical side of the MCU, as they fucking should, in Doctor Strange 3, they could have Michael Giacchino come in and act either as a producer or as a writing consultant, which would be cool. Because then we could actually see the supernatural aspects of the MCU and the mystical aspects existing in the same movie, like they should have in Doctor Strange 2, but never mind.
Let me see. That makes sense to me.
Because I don't know why their first instinct with Doctor Strange 2 was let's throw a bunch of scientific multiverse shenanigans in here. It's like no, that doesn't follow from interdimensional sorcerer at all. But monsters and supernatural beings like Man-Thing, Werewolf by Night, presumably Elsa Bloodstone, and etc., combining with the mystical side of the MCU would make sense.
I guess it's
Because we already have witches set up with Agatha.
I guess because the supernatural side of Marvel is still in its infancy. Like the universe hasn't.
Yeah,
really
they're setting it up now, but and to be fair, they didn't lean as heavily into multiverse, in Multiverse of Madness as I was worried they would. That's why I really really like Multiverse of Madness because Sam Raimi did what I wanted him to do, but at the same time, I just don't want get your science out of my sorcery is what I'm saying, I guess. Anyway, yeah.
You like the fantastic, basically.
Well, no, it's that I don't mind there being scientific components. I just think that they should be different aspects of the universe rather than trying to mix them. Anyway.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
What's up?
But brainstorm.
Just last topic tonight.
Yeah.
Which is
Brainstormer's running out of steam there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
Black Adam.
Yeah. The Black Adam review.
Yeah, so I'd seen this about like a week after it came out, which was 21st.
So what I've heard about Black Adam, as I have not seen the movie myself, is that it's a turn your brain off popcorn flick that tries to like sprinkle in some like commentary about like war being bad or something, like that tries to sprinkle in some commentary.
Brainstormer, you can go first because I've already talked about some of my thoughts on Black Adam, but you can go first.
All right.
The most recent to see. I technically saw it 3 days before it came out for the public because I pirate things, and it premiered before the rest of the world got a chance to see it. So, yo, pirate's life for me.
Right. So, I don't really agree with that, with what people are saying, because mainly one thing, I assume critics are saying that.
Critics are being even harsher on the thing. Critics are basically saying it's the worst comic book movie since Morbius.
Basically, yeah. So, and a minority of them are saying that it should have made a strong socio-political message.
Yeah, they're basically going, why doesn't this turn art into a means to an end like every other piece of art today?
Pretty much. As far as like what a lot of people, as far as what some people have seen, that I've read anyway, are people basically saying it's like a turn your brain off kind of movie. and just like the action.
I disagree with that. Mainly because I don't.
Yeah,
Don't.
Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I disagree with that. Mainly because I don't believe in turning my brain off when watching something because I think that's just stupid. I will say that it's not perfect. I feel like it drags on a bit, kind of in the beginning, a bit, like a little bit, not too much, but it's a slow start. The action is fun. I will grant that. Overall, it is a fun movie. I will like, and it does have interesting ideas to it, and kind of expands more of the world of the DC universe in terms of the films. What else? I'm sorry. I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. I'm getting somewhat of a headache. It does propose some ideas in terms of philosophy, at least, which I think are interesting. Story points that have actually been brought up a lot in terms of superhero comics and like roles and stuff like that. And I would argue that they're not window dressing like Marvel does in terms of issues, but I mean the argument could be made that it is. So overall, I personally enjoyed it. Because this is also how I gauge things on like how good it is, which is giving it elicits an emotional response from me, and it did that, which kind of means it put in the work to make me care about these characters and the world itself. I will say it has somewhat of a Wonder Woman problem, like first Wonder Woman movie, which is third act is a bit lackluster.
And basically was unnecessary to the rest of the movie. In the same way as the Ares fight at the end of Wonder Woman was.
It could have been handled better, is what I said. Like, yeah, it's a good movie. It's fun, which is something we sorely need these days. Not perfect, mind you. But yeah, overall, I'd say I like the movie.
I know you have an issue with the term "turn your brain off," but I like that. The idea is more or less that you can be presented with some entertainment, and it doesn't necessarily try to promote a message to you, nor do you have to look too deeply into it. Basically, some things are just meant to be enjoyed. Basically,
I think Brainstormer's issue with it is similar to mine in the sense that the phrase "turn your brain off" seems almost dismissive or belittling.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And also, in order for something to truly be good, you shouldn't have to turn your brain off, for lack of a better. Like you don't need to be given a sociological lecture to still have something intelligent to say.
I mean, I enjoy it, so I agree with you, and I see where you're going. But I enjoyed what do you call it? Godzilla versus Kong, right? And that movie makes no goddamn sense. It's just loud.
I mean, it's a giant monster movie. You get what you pay for, essentially, in that one.
It's a giant, and that's a movie that you can turn your brain off to and just enjoy the monkey and the lizard beat each other up.
Giant monkey, giant lizards, QQ, etc.
Exactly, yeah, and that's something that you can turn your brain off to and just enjoy. So when I say it, I don't mean it in a dismissive context, as I do understand what you guys are saying, but I mean it in the respect that, like, oh, it's something I can enjoy and I won't be lectured watching it, you know?
You don't get beat over the head as you're watching it.
That
As
was
for
my concern with Black Adam, was that it was going to be a movie that was going to lecture me.
colonialism movie,
Yes, I thought. Oh my God! How did you know? That's exactly what I thought.
Not really. No, it doesn't do that.
With regards to, I guess, my 2 cents on the matter, Black Adam is an interesting movie. It's kind of like Multiverse of Madness in that there are a lot, and by that I mean a lot, of script problems and some pacing problems. But there's so much interesting shit going on in the interim of the script and pacing problems that I can kind of overlook the script and pacing problems. And here's the other thing I will say about Black Adam that I think makes Black Adam unique. It's kind of a grab bag of the best moments of the entire superhero genre. It's almost like somebody watched every single movie in the superhero genre made in the last like 10 years and found the most interesting and unique things that each of those movies did and copied them on a slightly smaller scale.
Like the
but
superhero, like landing thing, where the superhero pose, where like the superhero lands and shit.
Not the like genre standards. I'm talking about the most unique and interesting parts of every superhero movie released in the last 10 years. So like if there was a standout scene in a superhero movie released in the last 10 years or a standout like plot element, it feels like somebody went through every superhero movie released in the last 10 years, found the most unique and interesting aspect of that movie, and then shrank it down a little bit and copied it repeatedly. Because
give me an example. Like, what do you mean?
Like, as an example, do you remember the scene in Infinity War where Doctor Strange fights Thanos?
Where he I think he makes like a shit ton of clones of himself, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Fate in this movie does that same maneuver, but he does it like 3 or 4 different freaking times. And also while doing other interesting spells on top of it. So that's kind of what I mean. Like if there's a standout part of any superhero movie released in the last 10 years, what Black Adam does in kind of it's weird because I could see someone make the argument that this movie was derivative, but the thing it's being derivative of is all the coolest shit. So it's weird. It's weirdly sort of like if you wanted to summarize what made the superhero genre awesome to somebody who's never seen a superhero movie before, you could show them Black Adam and they would get it. Because Black Adam kind of has all the interesting aspects of every superhero movie that's released in the last 10 years, while minimizing some of the more annoying or cliched ones. There are a few moments where the writing hampers things a little bit, and you do get into more like cliched, like mid, like early 2010s, late 2000s superhero tropes. Like there's a subplot. There's a subplot between Black Adam and a child whose mother is the one that summoned him to the modern world. And they basically do something similar to the relationship between John Connor and the T-800 from T2. The problem being the kid in question is not good at acting. He's one of those child actors who is very much a child actor, if you know what I mean. And so it doesn't work quite as well as the T-800 and John Connor subplot in T2, but it's very obvious that that's kind of the dynamic they're going for. And there is an unnecessary third act villain that really didn't need to exist.
Sabak, right?
Yeah, they kind of do a worse version of Zemo from Civil War, where you feel as though the dynamics between the hero characters could have been enough of a plot to carry the movie, i.e., in this case, it's Black Adam versus the Justice Society of America. And for most of the movie, they're fighting each other is the main dynamic of the movie, and you really feel as though that could have carried the entire movie. But instead, at the 11th hour, they throw in a big CGI villain at the end, so that the Justice Society and Black Adam have an excuse to team up, and it's fine. But as with most things in Black Adam, it feels like you watched every superhero movie released in the last 10 years, made notes of all the coolest shit in those movies, and then copied the coolest shit from those movies.
Okay.
Well, also, I want to say this is, the Rock has been trying to get this for like a decade or so, maybe more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been like a passion project, and I will say this, knowing that, you can definitely feel the passion in this.
I will
And-
say
Go ahead.
it's weird. Apparently, so I read that he apparently has like an issue with like the Shazam movie. That was weird. Let me see if I can find that article. Hold on.
Yeah, I have heard that as well, and it does kind of relate to something that happens at the end of the movie that I feel really like I have really mixed emotions about, and I think most people know at this point. But
Superman or whatever.
at the end of the movie, Henry Cavill's Superman shows up as a favor to Amanda Waller to basically act as a deterrent against Black Adam. And that's fine and all, but for those of us that care about the Black Adam mythos and the wider like DC mystical mythos, or at least in my case, I was sitting there going, "Fuck your prize fight between Black Adam and Superman. The prize fight should be between Black Adam and Shazam, and or the
Pretty much,
Shazam
yeah.
family."
I will say that I do appreciate the fact that The Rock was one of the major pushers behind getting Henry Cavill back. You know, because he was one of the major people involved with getting Henry Cavill back as Superman. Because
For the
like,
record, I am a big supporter of Henry Cavill being Superman because I think he could do a great job. Just needs to be given the proper material.
exactly, he looks the part of Superman. He's a giant ass nerd. Like, holy
Yeah,
shit.
he that's the biggest problem is for the longest time he's wanted to play a classic mom baseball apple pie loving Superman, the classic aw shucks type Superman, but for some reason Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan wouldn't let him do that in Man of Steel, and so he's basically been dragged along kicking and screaming with all the stupid mistakes the Snyderverse made. But now apparently he is freed up to behave like an actual Superman, which I think we're all appreciative of. Probably Brainstormer more than any of us here, because I don't really have as much skin in the game with regards to Superman as Brainstormer does.
Like, you'll be surprised by this, but I quite like Superman. He's one of my favorite characters.
That actually does surprise me. I'm not gonna lie.
I quite like him. His it like normally he's like the exact opposite of a character that I would like, but I like him. It's kind of like Goku from Dragon Ball Z. There's like a wholesomeness to his personality that I really enjoy.
The innocence.
Yeah, there's like an innocence to his personality that I really like. Whereas like you have like edgy teens or like I liked Batman Superman when I was a kid, but Batman is who
I grew up and I like Batman now, and it's kind
of the opposite for me. I was a big fan of Batman growing up because Batman content was just out over the roof at that time. Granted, I saw very different versions. I think the first one was like the 2004 the Batman cartoon. If anyone remembers that.
The one that used to be on Kids WB and then was on the CW.
Yeah. Then I guess it was the Dark Knight series or trilogy. Then Batman the Brave and the Bold.
I never saw Brave and the Bold, actually.
I would recommend it. It's actually really funny.
Yeah, it's a good series. It's a lot more lighthearted and Silver Agey than something like Batman the Animated Series or the Justice League cartoon. But if you kind of know that going in, you kind of know they're going for like a Silver Age vibe. It's really good.
Yeah. Also the the DC animated universe stuff, like Justice League Unlimited. That kind of reruns Batman Beyond too.
Yeah.
So but
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, like I said, I kind of grew up being a fan of Batman first, and then as I got older, I started to kind of develop. Well, actually, the first comic I ever read when I was a kid was a Superman comic, so I already had that establishment there.
Uh-huh.
And then as I got older, I started to look more into the character and watch more stuff of him, and then I really started to get like invested in him. So, and here's the funniest thing: I saw Man of Steel kind of when it came out, which was 2013. I was like 13, I think, or no, 12. Going to be 13, I think. And at first, I was fine with it, just face value, because at the time I was still learning about Superman and stuff. But as like some time after, and I would rewatch it after knowing more about Superman, I realized how much of a fuck up they did about the character of Superman. Like they didn't get him.
Should I let a bus full of children die, Pa? Maybe you should.
It wasn't just Clark's character they got wrong in that movie. It was Pa Kent as well. Like that whole maybe you should let everyone inferior to you die, my super powerful son who could literally destroy the planet without thinking twice.
Is this sort of infantile understanding of like the character that annoys me? It's just like they think everything has to be steeped in this like cynical dark realism and that you can't have anything that's like hopeful or like interesting.
Well, okay. The other problem with Man of Steel is that Zack Snyder is the one who made it, and the reason why that's a problem is the same reason why something like Watchmen was a really good adaptation because of Zack Snyder, is because Zack Snyder is a Randian objectivist. So in his mind, everything moral has to have an Aristotelian rationale to it.
Oh yeah, basically the idea is that you receive some benefit from everything you do is because of some personal gain for yourself.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't think Zack Snyder's understanding of Randian objectivism bears much resemblance to Randian objectivism as Ayn Rand proposed it, because that's the other thing about Randian objectivists is very few people who call themselves Randian objectivists really seem to know much about what Ayn Rand actually originally proposed. But that's neither here nor there.
I read Atlas Shrugged once, and I'm really smart now.
Yeah, and therefore I call myself a Randian objectivist. It's basically the level at which Zack Snyder operates. But that's neither here nor there. The reason why that doesn't work for somebody like Superman is because Superman is a principled idealist. His whole thing is I don't need a Aristotelian rationale for things.
Right.
I do good things because they're good things, and I avoid doing bad things because they're bad things. Because he was raised in very much the mom baseball apple pie aw shucks Americana type.
All right. Okay. One
second.
Dalton, I want to ask Brainstormer this. Brainstormer, you've never read Atlas Shrugged, right?
I once watched a video of Ayn Rand, like an interview, and I don't personally believe in that philosophy.
You do or you don't?
I don't.
Okay. So at the end of Atlas Shrugged, which is her book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the main character, I think it's the main character makes the symbol of a $sign with her finger in the air. Like it is the stupidest fucking shit.
Yeah, no, it's but in any case, because Zack Snyder doesn't understand the idea of idealism, the idea that somebody could be motivated to do good things purely because they are good things for like emotional and sentimental reasons. He had, and he admitted this in interviews. He thought that Superman needed a reason not to kill, and that's why the whole Zod thing happened. No one could possibly no one could possibly avoid killing just for the sake of sentimentality. They have to have a emotionally scarring backstory to prevent them from doing so.
What's asinine about that is that most people don't have a repulsion, have a reflex not to kill you. It's like, so for example, that's one of the reasons why soldiers have to be desensitized to their enemy, in order to kill them and shit. Like, because people
by default humanize.
Exactly. They don't want to kill. Like, people don't want to kill each other and shit.
Because evolutionary psychology has largely sorted this shit out for us, and so much the better.
You see this in zombie movies. Like, people are hesitant to attack each other because they don't, because like we have a instinct not to do so.
Yeah.
Like, not to attack.
Again, because basic bitch empathy and evolutionary psychology have largely sorted this shit out for us. But that's neither here nor there. That's one of the reasons why Man of Steel is such a clusterfuck of what it is, because you have a character who's motivated by principled empathy, sentimentality, and idealism, and you have a director who requires Aristotelian justifications for every little thing he does.
Like I said, the reason why I brought up that point was because, like you said, he should know this just by the fact that if someone asked him, "Hey, would you go kill that person?" he'd say, "No, that's insane." Exactly, like, it's insane to just kill someone. Like,
that's what, and this is a complete sidebar, but that's why I have a theory that people with hyper strict moral systems are actually the exceptions, not the rule. Because the reason why certain people, again, in this theory of mine, require hyper strict moral systems is because there's something in their brains that isn't working properly, and they don't have it. I don't want to go so far as to say people with strict moralities are by definition sociopaths, because that's stupid. But I do. But there is a correlation. But there is a correlate between people who seek out hyper strict moral systems and sociopaths. That's why very often when you catch a murdering sociopath, they have a lengthy moral manifesto of, here's why I'm rationally justified in doing what I'm doing from a moral perspective. You saw it with the Unabomber, you saw it with I think not Dahmer, but what's the other guy who Zac Efron played in a recent movie for Netflix?
Ted Bundy.
Thank you. But my theory is that, as you say, and as I kind of backed you up on, everyone in general has a evolutionary psychological predisposition toward empathy. I mean, we can see this in the existence of fucking mirror neurons. But people who, by either means of genetic abnormality or trauma, have had that part of their brain damaged, still have all the other apparatuses of a normally functioning human brain, but they have a hole where their empathy should be, their instinctive hair trigger for, I'm not going to do this evil thing because it's evil. So they try to fill the void of that lack of instinctive empathy with these hyper strict moral systems, be it fundamentalist Christianity, be it Randian objectivism, be it whatever.
Yeah, well, to go along with what you said, people who are sociopath, or I guess who have anti-personality disorders, which is the more PC way of saying it, they don't have mirror neurons, and mirror neurons are vital to, like, empathy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say I don't know if it's more or less more strict moralists that have that issue. Okay. you can see this also with like extreme ideologues, whether they be left or right, how they have this sort of ends justify the means type of
Well,
mentality.
that's kind of who I'm referring to is
No,
people
that's
who
that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you. I'm sorry.
yeah
I'm agreeing with you.
yeah.
Hey guys, I don't mean to interrupt,
But anyway, we were in the process of reviewing Black Adam, and I guess to get back onto the point, when I was growing up, I first enjoyed Batman as a character because the first superhero movies that I ever watched were the two Tim Burton Batman movies.
Yeah.
But when I kind of individuated and kind of started doing my own thing, I felt drawn to characters like Dr. Fate. Segue back to Black Adam because
I like Apocalypse. He's neat.
well, I mean that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. Wherein Brainstormer and I are just gonna have to sit you down on a chaise and be like, so tell me on the dawn where entirety of society hunts you. But that's neither here nor there. My point is that Dr. Fate and the other members of the JSA were heavily featured in Black Adam, and according to what I see of other people's reaction to it, most people seem to view Dr. Fate as the standout character for Black Adam.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
And I couldn't be happier with that because Dr. Fate is, without question, my most favorite comic superhero ever. Like, even more than Doctor Strange, even more than Dream of the Endless, even more than any other character in comics, I've always loved Dr. Fate. However, Dr. Fate is also a character that constantly gets raped to death by retcons. And I was very, very happy to see that in Black Adam, they didn't massacre my boy. Because ever since the aftermath of the Day of Vengeance, and in particular after the New 52, they started doing this stupid thing where instead of Naboo and the person wearing the helmet have to work together to function as Dr. Fate, the helmet basically possesses people, and the person wearing the helmet is basically a glorified meat suit for Naboo to wear. And I've always hated that retcon, not only because it's stupid, which it is, and not only because it massively nerfs the character, which it does. It basically gives a insta-win button. All you have to do is remove the helmet. But also because it misconstrues the relationship between Kent Nelson, the original Dr. Fate, and Naboo, and the entire reason why the helmet exists at all. Because for those that don't know, the original origin of the original Dr. Fate was Kent Nelson was a young boy in the 1920s who was on a mission with his father, who was an archaeologist, to uncover an ancient Mesopotamian tomb. And they uncovered the tomb of Naboo the Wise, who was an ancient Mesopotamian wizard. And in the course of Naboo being awoken, Sven Nelson, who was Kent's father, was exposed to poison gas and died. And Naboo awoke, took pity on young Kent, and essentially took him under his wing as a surrogate father for him, and spent the next 20 years teaching him magic. Unfortunately, because Naboo is basically what amounts to a cosmic god, a Lord of Order, being incarcerated in a humanoid body on the mortal plane was slowly killing him. So after Kent achieved manhood, Naboo basically forced him to remember all of the trauma of losing his original father so that Kent would then kill him, and so he could reascend to the status of being a Lord of Order. But unfortunately, after he ascended to the status of a Lord of Order, he realized that he still cared about Kent. And so he bound his essence to a helmet, which Kent could then wear, so that Naboo could stay in connection with him and advise him as the mystical protector of the planet. And all of this gets completely retconned out of existence if you go with the goddamn possession retcon.
Pretty much, because it makes Naboo sound like a parasitic demon or something.
Yeah, or alien. And that's the other thing. Not only have they changed how Dr. Fate works as a character, they've also changed Naboo's personality a lot because Naboo used to be a thousands of years old godlike being who was basically nigh omniscient and therefore who was extremely wise. He had existed on Earth for thousands of years and existed off of Earth for millions of years before that. So he was very, very wise. But because of the necessity of the possession retcon, they changed his character so that he would become this very distant, very alien mentality being who doesn't really understand human concerns or human needs or human empathy. Fortunately, though, in Black Adam, they mostly go with the original Golden Age origin of Dr. Fate, and therefore they point out how important Kent actually is as a character, irrespective of Naboo. And they did a really good job of portraying Kent because the way they portray him is almost like someone who has been there and done that so many times that they're just unfazed by everything now. Especially when you consider that they kind of stick with the Smallville justification of Fate's powers, where he can actually see the future and see people's fates. So not only has he been acting as Dr. Fate for a fucking century, but he can also see the future and plan around it. So they really did a good job of portraying Dr. Fate as perpetually the wisest person in the room. Unfortunately, he also dies at the end, which means that either they're going to do a prequel movie for him, depending on how well this movie does, or they're going to do a movie where the next steward of the helm takes over after him. My problem with that is that almost every character who takes the helm up after Kent dies in the comics is a moron, and the Lords of Order that are responsible for handing out the helm are moronic in who they choose to take the helm up.
They could do Enza, which is Fate's wife. Although
yes, they could do Enza, but my question with regards to that would be, since Kent has been being Dr. Fate for a freaking century, does the age retarding effects of his magic apply to Enza as well? Now, in the comics, the answer to that was yes, because Enza, in addition to being Fate's wife, was also his apprentice before she became her version of Dr. Fate, which means I wouldn't mind that. But I could easily see them go, we can't use Enza because she's long dead because she didn't have the age retarding effects of Fate's magic. Although I will say that after Kent dies in the movie, they have Hawkman wear the helm for a while and use it, so they could be setting up Hector, who was in the comics the son of Hawkman, and Hawkgirl actually becomes one of the next stewards of the helmet and becomes Dr. Fate. So they could be setting up Hector.
I don't really have anything else to really say about Black Adam. I like it, and I would say go see it. Honestly,
I'll go see it.
Yeah, it's a really good movie, and again, it solidified what I've always been saying, which is how much of a badass Dr. Fate is, and basically left the door open for a Dr. Fate movie, either a prequel about Kent or a sequel where someone else takes up the helm. I'm hoping for the first one. Especially because they could do that as a period piece, because they basically kept the time scale for Dr. Fate fairly consistent with the comics, so that he could have been a child in the 1920s, which would have been a good thing if, for example, they had him fight in World War II after spending the 20 years studying with Naboo. That would have been interesting. But I can dream, I guess.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, Dawn X
Ooh,
turned
it's
on
hot
Dr.
here.
Fate because it was not a character I was well versed in. The only depictions of Dr. Fate I had seen at the time was Smallville Dr. Fate, which I think we can agree on is a good version of Dr. Fate.
Yeah, that version is pretty good. And it's one of the few times retconning Dr. Fate has actually worked for me. Because here's the thing. I'm not against retcons, but I do distinguish between good retcons and bad retcons. The retcon they did in Smallville is a good retcon. Because they gave a reason why he's called Dr. Fate. Namely, in the Smallville version, and they appear to have kept that same fact here in Black Adam. In the Smallville version, part of the reason he's called Dr. Fate is that he can see people's fates. Everyone but his own, funnily enough. Because it's the curse of prophets to see everyone's fate but their own, which I really liked.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that's something I put into a version of Dr. Fate I am working on for a crossover fan fiction that's inspired by. Well, crap, do you know what Ruby is?
Yeah.
Okay. DC did well, they actually did Ruby comics, which are apparently really terrible from what I've gathered.
Oh, the Ruby crossover comics they did.
Yeah, with Justice League, which from videos I've seen of it, like reviews of it, I'm not surprised it did not look good. It wasn't good. And that inspired me to make my own, because we got like 10 minutes before like 3 hours, so I don't have anything else to say about Black Adam. So yeah, I'm working on my own little DC and Ruby crossover fan fiction thing.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, because it's not the Justice League. Because of how the setting of Ruby is, which is like a 1920s fantasy sci-fi world.
Yeah.
I actually have it the Justice Society instead.
That makes sense.
And I'm actually having the characters, because the weirdest thing is that and I've seen this also with fan fictions because I've looked. I've looked into it just to see if I'm getting inspiration from those.
Yeah.
They always stick with the names of the characters from the comics and never like actually have those characters be set in that world, like with the rules and stuff. Because there's a naming convention within Ruby which follows like colors and stuff. Yeah.
That's interesting. Because I mean, I've seen like a few seasons of Ruby.
It's kind of gotten bad now. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Like it's really awful now.
Yeah, I think it kind of started to decline after the passing of its original creator, like in 2015, I believe.
Yeah, that happens. Just look at what happened to SpongeBob after Steven Hillenburg.
Oh yeah, and then they made spin-offs of that too.
Oh God, it pisses me off even more because it's like they literally waited until after he died to make spin-offs.
Yeah, they
It's
did.
Just dickish.
Yeah, and so like I won't lie, it was kind of a bitch and a half to do, just because I'm not only just creating original characters that fit in the world of Ruby, which is tough enough. I'm also incorporating certain characters from actual Ruby canon to be heroes.
You know who you should make a hero? That one bully from
Oh, I
season
did.
1. Really?
You're talking Cardin Winchester, right?
Yeah.
I turned him into Hawkman.
That's hilarious.
Well, specifically the Golden Age version of a version of Hawkman that is the reincarnating version.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. That was one of the fun ones to work on. And also that's one of my favorite concepts for a superhero is like superhero avatar.
I like the idea that someone actually I like the idea that someone evolved the bully character into more than just I'm a bully. I'm just an
Dude,
obstacle for the hero to overcome.
yeah,
I
like
literally only exist to be annoying for 5 seconds.
yeah, it was interesting just because like, well, also the thing is like, he's a side character, and I've done the research into the character, and there's not a lot there, so I kind of had to build him up as well, which is a lot, with a lot of characters in RWBY
Yeah.
that aren't like main characters. And also I have to like go backwards and actually constructing the world because I've actually, again, specifically for the Hawkman and Hawkwoman version thing. There's someplace we can find these fanfics. Yeah, I'm not done with writing them yet. I actually haven't written like the chapters yet. I'm actually just writing like kind of a Bible for them. I actually am going to plan on putting them in the Discord, like the chapters, when I'm done
Yeah.
with. By the way, I have a Discord, Corrupt. I've been meaning to send you a link, but I keep forgetting.
He always comes up with new ideas. Like every time Brainstormer and I talk, he always goes, "I did the thing again," which usually results in me smirking and going, "What did you do?"
Yeah, it happens. It's a problem with me.
Yeah, I hear you.
He's addicted to creating ideas. And to be fair, I enable this problem because I take his. I have a bad habit of taking his basic ideas and like combining them to create these big, spanning, overarching narratives, and then we get stuck writing yet another massive comic crossover or something.
Right, and there's the fun part about this, and I'm not afraid to talk about it now because there are characters that already exist, and I'm just making a fan fiction of it. It's going a different direction, right? So the Hawkwoman is this character called Ilya, who is a faunus, which if people don't know what that is an animal-human hybrid creature from RWBY.
Oh, you're talking about the race that has like one single animal characteristic?
Yeah. She's a chameleon faunus, Ilya. And well, she's also gay. And the thing with like, and I'm only mentioning that because they made it a big thing in the show and stuff. And it is kind of big here in the story. I'm not doing like, it's in service of the story, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the idea is like with Hawkman and Hawkwoman, they're reincarnating tragic lovers, right? Very much like a superhero Romeo and Juliet, I guess you could say. And the idea was to kind of explore a relationship where one of them was gay, and more explore like the deeper relationship of like it goes beyond even just like casual like romantic love. It is a love of a bond that stretches past
two souls that are bound together regardless of circumstances.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so one of them was a dude or something and reincarnated into a woman. Is that it?
No. Because the idea is also like, well, another idea that kind of mixes with it is that they are still individual people, even though they reincarnate. They just, it's like, again, like the Avatar deal.
It's like Cloud Atlas.
I don't.
You need to watch that movie, my dude. Well,
Atlas?
You should, but it's going to cause you to have a bunch of fucking ideas.
What is Cloud Atlas?
Have you never seen Cloud Atlas either?
Wait, is that the movie where everything is in black and white?
No.
Until like they discover they discover knowledge or freedom or something, and then it becomes color. Okay.
No. It's the movie where 6 souls reincarnate throughout history, but each time they reincarnate, it also results in a change in genre. So like one story is like a age of exploration, quote unquote colonialism story, and then another story is a detective story set in the 1950s, and then another story is like set in the modern day. It's about author who murders a critic, and then his publisher runs afoul of his mob family because he keeps all the money from the author rather than sharing it with him, and the family then essentially threatens to kill him, so he hides out in a mental institution, but then he can't get out of the mental institution, so he has to stage like a madcap old person comedy in order to get out of the mental institution. And then there's another story that's like sci-fi movie set in the future where this like clone race called Fabricants are essentially a slave race. And then there's a further story where it's like set after a nuclear holocaust, where most of humanity has been reduced to basically pre-industrial level of civilization, but there's like one remaining enclave of advanced civilization left.
I will say this for the Ruby thing. My Batman was the easiest to do.
Did you make him an actual?
I didn't make him a bad Faunus because everyone does that. It's so
cliche.
Yeah, cliche and too easy. But I did make him. I did make him half Faunus.
Half what?
Faunus.
The hell's a phonics?
The animal people. Corrupt the animal people.
Oh, okay.
That's what they're called.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, Ruby's friend is a fucking cat phonics or something.
Yeah, I made him. Well, his name is Ritter Shores, which I believe means knight with a K, black, night black in German.
Huh.
Yeah, it can be. They can be half dragon turtle. He had a human father and a Faunus mother in this story I'm working on. He was a jackal Faunus. Like he had jackal ears. Hence why he has like the long pointed ears on his costume. And the costume itself, like in my mind, it's based off of Grimm, which creatures of Grimm, for those who don't know, are the big bad monsters that are that take shape of like wild animals that attack people.
You're talking about the with the white faces and shit, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they look like hollows from Bleach. I remember them.
That's one way to put it, yeah. But yeah, like the idea was because creatures of Grimm are supposed to be like symbols of fear. You know, Batman's all about fear, right?
Yeah.
So the idea was like he'd be a symbol of fear to the criminals, but also a symbol of hope to the people that it's protecting. Yeah. I will say is like it's been difficult for some of these stories just to like really incorporate a lot of interesting things and like make them work in the world. Wonder Woman, I will say, was the hardest one to do.
What is that?
Well, in the story of Ruby, and this is gonna be the last thing because I will not lie, I have been up since 4:30 in the morning today.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's my own fault. Yeah, so I made her a Silver-Eyed Warrior, which are supposed to be legendary, powerful warriors that combat the Grimm. And I've kind of expanded on that because they haven't really done that in the show at all. They dance
Ruby has a bad tendency of setting up interesting shit and never touching on it again.
like a certain cinematic universe does lately.
Although, in the MCU's defense, I think Ruby has the problem worse.
No, that's fair. And so like I had this I called them the Moon-Eyed Tribe due to their eyes being silver. Like the pupils are supposed to be like silver colored.
Ooh, I like that.
Thank you. And also, they're not based off the Amazons directly because it's a mixture of male and female. It's a tribe, right?
Yeah.
And I have them based more on like the Incan Empire and various African warrior tribes, just to kind of give it a more. I know this word is kind of tainted, but a more diverse feeling of the world. And by that, I obviously mean like just more interesting designs that can be built on like the culture and stuff like that, and how the characters would look. Not to mention the weapon I came up with, because in Ruby, like at first, when it first started, was very much the weapons were a big selling point because they could be one thing and turn into another, usually a gun.
Yeah.
It's also a gun, which is, if Ruby fans know, like if you're a Ruby fan, you'll know what that means. The weapon I had given her was a standard gladius as at first, a Roman sword, right?
Yeah.
And then I have it turn into, it's able to transform into something else. Let me pull that up just so because I have a hard, it's been a while since I wrote it, so my memory is not as good.
He keeps a lot of notes, and I keep badgering him to make sure he saves shit on his flash drive as often as he can.
I do. Okay, no, that's the wrong one.
You can always
I'm just saying, I've had many a creative idea be nerfed because flash drive. So
you can always use Google Cloud as a second backup.
My computer's like from 2009.
No, the Google Cloud, Google Cloud and Google Documents are like so basic that you can use them on like your phone.
I mean, I literally have Google Docs on my phone.
Yeah, like Google Docs take aren't a burden on your computer.
I mean, to be fair, given all the files you have saved up, it would take like a day to transfer everything. But
no, it takes about like a good minute on a flash drive. So
no, he means to upload it to like the Google Drive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to upload everything you have on your computer that's like creative idea related, it would take, you'd have to set aside like a whole day just to do that.
Right.
Probably.
Guandao Sword Spear was what it also turned into.
Gets me in the mood to want to write again.
I
write a lot.
Yeah, I called, and I also gave it a name, which was Celine's Blessing. Selene obviously being, I believe, the Roman goddess of the moon.
Yes.
And again, like obviously reference to the tribe, which is called the Moon-Eyed Tribe, or Moon-Eyed Tribe. So yeah.
So you mix them with various African tribes and like Incas.
Yep.
Visually, I don't know. I suppose that's interesting visually.
Well, I suppose architecture-wise, it is more Incan, and culture-wise, it is more African tribes than anything. That makes sense.
As opposed to just making them Amazons, basically. Well, I guess it wouldn't make sense because they're like mixed, right? There's men and women.
Yeah, although it is a, I did make sure it was a matriarchy.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, you've been up since 4:30 and it's 11, so we should probably.
Oh, please, I've stayed up longer.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea, and as your friend, I'm supposed to take care of you.
Granted, there were moments during the podcast I was about ready to slam my head on.
Dalton wants to go to sleep, basically.
No, I'm gonna be up until like literally sunup, but that's neither here nor there. Brainstormer has been up since 4:30 and it's 11, so go to bed, Brainstormer. As your friend, I demand you don't kill yourself by means of insomnia. Mostly because insomnia is a terrible, terrible way to die. So don't kill yourself with insomnia. Go to bed.
Yeah, okay. So with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
Shalom. Now fuck off so Brainstormer can go to sleep.